SquareHammer.
What's up, YouTube? What's up, SquareHammers? I have my buddy Curt here with me. And he's been playing minis for... How long you been playing miniatures for, Curt?
Late 90s, early 2000s when I played 40k, and then I got into fantasy in early 8th edition. But okay. 40k my whole life, fantasy in 8th edition, WAP for a couple of years now.
Did you play through the end times, too?
No. I actually went away from fantasy and then came back in like 2016 and like looked at Games Workshop's website, and I'm like, what is this? What order, destruction? What's going on here?
What happened?
I had no idea. So I missed all that completely.
Well, that's at least good. I mean, you got to play at least 8th edition, which was probably one of their most popular. It's between 8th and 6th edition, seems like the most popular editions that, at least on Facebook, that you see of people discussing and stuff. So today, SquareHammers, we're going to be talking about Tomb Kings, doing an army book review of Tomb Kings. And Curt, were Tomb Kings your first army in 8th edition?
No, but they were always kind of my favorite. When I first got into fantasy, I was walking around a Games Workshop in White Marsh, Maryland constantly. It was near my house. I was walking around all the time, looking at all the armies, looking to get into it. I basically got down to a few that I was interested in. I ended up going with Warriors of Chaos because I heard they were good for beginners. And the guy who I was hanging out with played Tomb Kings. That's kind of why I didn't get Tomb Kings, but I played against them a lot, and I was always like, man, even though I'm kicking your ass all the time because Tomb Kings sucked and Warriors of Chaos were really good, I just always loved Tomb Kings, the models, the aesthetic. They were always kind of my favorite. Right.
Just like undead, but a total switch in terms of aesthetics from like the vampire undead. It's like obviously cool Egyptian stuff, so it's like ancient times. Okay, so we're going to start with the same way we kind of did the Empire book, if y'all saw that book review, where you just talk about the army special rules, and then you kind of break down in characters, core, special, all that good stuff. So let's take a look at the army special rules from 8th edition and current WAP. Now, you said you started in... Which one do you remember specifically? You know more WAP currently, correct?
Oh, yeah, I've been playing Tomb Kings and WAP for, like I said, a couple years now, so I have a lot of experience. Played a little bit of Tomb Kings, mostly against Tomb Kings in 8th edition, so I vaguely remember some stuff. Okay,
well, if you want to start with some of the army special rules, and then I'll like try and go back and forth about what the current rule is, and then what 8th had and how like it's better.
Yeah. So under the army special rules, of course, they are undead. And that's changed, I believe, with WAP, because now the undead special rule just gives them the animated construct, fear, and unstable special rules by having undead. So with Tomb King specifically, you can't march unless you're with a character that has My Will Be Done or Sworn Bodyguard. So that's basically your Tomb Kings, your Tomb Princes, or your the Bodyguards. I forget what they're called. I rarely take them.
So what's different from so in 8th edition they did have Nehekara undead, which gave them unbreakable, unstable, and fear, but it also like units with that rule couldn't march ever.
Right.
Could not march whatsoever, which is insane. Like you're just so slow, lumbering undead. Not even with My Will Be Done did it let you march, which is crazy.
Right. And I know we're going to get into another little change here on to the next, if you're ready, the Hierophant rule. So basically, the Hierophant is a Lich Priest who must have the lore of Nehekara, and he does give a regeneration 6 up to the unit that he's in, but basically, if he ever dies, then your whole army has to start taking leadership tests every turn. However much you fail it by, guys die. Now, in 8th edition, I know that they got the short end of the stick, because if your Hierophant died, you couldn't replace them. The Vampire Counts could, with their leader, the Vampire Counts could replace them the next turn. So WAP has balanced that, and they've now given you the opportunity. You'll still go through those leadership checks for a turn, but the next turn, if you do have another Lich Priest with the lore of Nehekara specifically, you can then make him the Hierophant following turn.
Right, and it's just a leadership check, right? Is that correct?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, so let me see here. at the end of the phase in which it's removed by a casualty, and at the start of every friendly turn thereafter, all friendly undead units except characters on the battlefield must take a leadership test. If the test is failed, the unit immediately suffers a number of wounds equal to the amount by which it failed the leadership test, with no saves of any kind allowed. These wounds are distributed as if from a shooting attack.
Well, that's pretty huge. Just being able to transfer that, because I remember in 8th edition, if you lose the Hierophant, it's not like game's over, but it's like 90% chance you lose. You kill that guy, and you just crumble to dust before. Because what's the leadership of like most things? It's like 7 and 8, right? That's about the average.
That sounds right.
Or shoot, no, it's 4, 5, 4.
Or
yeah, for core it's 5. For specials, its average is like 8, and same with rare. So on it's 3d6.
Okay, well, I'm just saying like 7 for chariots.
Yeah, so it's not too.
And then
great.
The characters are higher, so
right.
You got units with characters. So, but there will be oftentimes you're gonna end up losing several models each turn.
Yeah, on every single unit, there's a good chance you might lose 1 or 2, which is that'll add up real quick after like 2 or 3 turns. You can't sustain that.
Yeah, especially if you're playing with any more elite type of units. Like if you just have big blocks of skeletons, it's kind of like whatever. You'll just bring it back to life.
It's like
but
no big deal. Whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so what happened to animated construct? Did that change?
That would just be in the special rules. I don't have that pulled up in front of me.
So I think they took that away from Tomb Kings and WoP. There was just a specific rule in the 8th edition book that was animated construct, and it gave every animated construct just a flat 5-up armor save. But then also units, they would suffer 1 wound less than normal from unstable.
Okay.
But now they completely got rid of that rule. So
it's just animated construct. It's just a general rule.
Right. Yeah. It covers the all rule books, or all army books, not rule books.
Right.
Whatever. Oh, and if the animated in 8th edition, if you were within 12 inches of the BSB, you suffer an additional 1 less wound. So they would suffer like 2 less than normal, which was pretty good. So even if your Hierophant died and your constructs were near a BSB, the chance that you're rolling like 10s and 10 up is pretty high. So like most of your stuff could stay around.
Yeah, it's solid.
And the arrows of go ahead.
I was just going to say, speaking of, that's our next thing, the Tomb King's Battle Standard Bearer.
Aha.
So, in the addition to the normal rules for the Armor Standard Bearer, units of undead within 12 inches of the battle standard suffer D3 wounds less than they normally would due to the unstable special rule or following the death of the army's Hierophant.
That's pretty good, because if you lose combat by like 1 or 2, your BSB's nearby, good chance you won't lose anything.
Right.
In 8th edition, it was just you lose 1 wound less, but now it's up to D3, so that's an improvement. So their BSB got a buff. Animated construct, I would say, got a nerf overall just by losing that flat 5-up armor save.
And a lot of them are missing armor saves at all, so that would have helped.
Yep, and the Hierophant got a buff because now you can transfer it as long as you have another Nehekara wizard or lore master or something like that nearby.
Yep. Lich Priest,
what about the arrows?
Arrows of Asaph. Units with the Arrows of Asaph special rule never count any bonuses or penalties to hit when shooting, regardless of the source modifier. I love this rule. Now, typically, their ballistic skill is awful. It's garbage. It's basically 5 across, 2, so you need 5s across the board. But, I mean, if you only ever need 5s, that's cool, because so many times I hate negative modifiers. I do like how in WAP they changed the negative modifiers to not be as punishing. Like there's no longer the long distance -1 and stuff like that. So maybe it isn't as good because there's not as many modifiers as previous, but it's still an awesome rule. Is that how it used to be in 8th edition? Is it the same thing?
Yeah, so you could still doesn't matter what the modifier was, but it kind of got, in my opinion, I think it's better. So not only, the long range penalty no longer affects you, no longer affects anyone, but now you can volley fire and multi-shot with no minus. So if you sat still, you can, let's say it's just 10 skeletons or archers, you shoot 20 shots at no minus instead of like if it was a normal, any non-Tomb King archer unit, like let's say your BS3, your volley fire and multi-shot. So like you're hitting on the same as a skeleton warrior.
Right.
Actually, no. Most archers are like BS3, so you're hitting on 6s. So you're actually hitting better than most.
Yeah, I
archers.
mean, like you got your elves that are BS4, but
yeah, you know,
most average is 3. So
yeah.
And we'll get into a little bit of the Errors of a Saf Wombo combo, I'm sure, a little bit later in the video.
I'm down. That's fine. All right. So what about? I think Entombed Beneath the Sands got a huge buff. Huge buff.
Okay. You're gonna have to run that by me because I'm not familiar with the 8th edition. How it was different.
Okay, so it basically functioned the same thing. You pick a place on the map, and then you would scatter. You scatter an artillery die? Yeah, you roll a scatter and an artillery die. If you roll a hit, you land there, and then you can face pretty much any direction. Same thing it is in 8th edition. And then if you land within like a friendly unit, a passable terrain, or a building, whatever, you go 1 inch away from like the closest unit or terrain.
So that's all the same?
That's the same. But the difference is in WAP, if you scatter under an enemy unit, you don't get deployed 1 inch away. You count as charging their front, which I think is it's huge. So,
and in 8th edition, you had to be 1 inch away. If you
in 8th edition, if you landed underneath, you get pushed 1 inch away to the closest edge. So
weird.
Yeah, and now it counts as charging. So if you want to like try and hit like an archer unit just holding a wizard just for like free wounds, you can just put it right next to them. And if you don't scatter and you go up right next to them, or artillery pieces, if you just have like a tomb scorpion or something hunting artillery, you can just put it right next to it and then have it come up and count as charging. It's not, and you don't even get a reaction. They just get to charge the front. So that's pretty big.
Yeah, it's a great roll. I think it's unlikely that, because you have to roll potentially roll them on the mishap table.
Right.
So when you roll that artillery dice to see where they land, if you roll the
misfire,
you do have to roll on the mishap table. 1 to 2 is reclaimed by the desert, so that is the only chance that it can be destroyed. So there is that chance. So I typically don't like putting massive units into Beneath the Sands. It's a small chance, but how much would it suck to have like a 300, 400 point unit just like never see the board? But then buried too deep, they just have to come back up the next turn.
Right.
And then 5 and 6, Shifting Sands. The unit enters the battlefield from any point on a randomly determined board edge, moving on using the rules for reinforcements.
Right.
So basically, this goes to regular reinforcements.
Yeah. So you just come on and have your back up against the board, and then you can move.
Right.
You can't march, but then you can move, I believe. So it's not great. Anytime you roll a misfire, it's never good.
Right.
But it's cool for like a scorpion or I don't know if was it carrion units? I don't know if they can do it.
The carrion units are probably the unit that I'm like don't know anything about. Like I've never used carrions. Like they don't do anything for me. So I'm not sure about them. But yeah, I take it on my snakes a bunch. The tomb scorpions. It's just a really cool rule to just be able to like pop up in the middle of the battlefield. I think it's like super cool for Tomb Kings.
And like cinematically, I just like picture it, and it just looks sweet, just like them slowly coming out of the sand and just like literally reaching out to grab you like right in front of you. I think it's entertaining. Yes, probably not the best for like tournament play, but for casual games, it's definitely fun to like pop that out.
See, I think it wouldn't be for bigger units, but I do think like a couple of individual Tomb Scorpions would be solid for competitive play. Also, just a unit of the Sepulchral Stalkers could be good for competitive play. But Tomb Scorpions, the point is if something bad happens, you're losing 80 points. But the big part is you're just interrupting enemy formations. Like if you pop up in front of like a ranged unit or artillery, or just like you end up just in combat with a unit that's not super beefy, but it basically just disrupts the enemy's lines.
Right.
So for pretty cheap models to be doing it with the Tomb Scorpions,
even if there's like
tough.
Even if there's for some reason a random wizard who like left their unit to try and get out of being charged next turn, it's like, oh, Scorpion, and you're charging like dead.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So I love that rule.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on to characters. It looks like Tomb Kings are the first up.
Yes, sir.
Ancient, long-dead rulers of Nehekara.
Yeah, so Tomb Kings, we can kind of group these together. Tomb Kings, Tomb Princes, they're basically the same thing. Tomb Kings is beefier. What's cool about these guys is they have one more wound than you would typically see out of basic lords and heroes. So the Tomb King has 4 wounds, the Prince has 3 wounds. These guys are mostly important because of My Will Be Done. That way you can get those that sweet marching in, as well as your buffed up ballistic skill, or weapon skill.
Right.
So that's their shtick, is that they confer their weapon skill onto the unit that they're with. So I like putting with the unit of Tomb Guard, or even skeletons if you're just running a brick of skeletons, and get that weapon skill up to 5 for princes or 6 if it's a Tomb King. And that's like super solid to have a unit of like skeletons having weapon skill 5 or 6. That's awesome.
I agree. Yeah, it is nice to see that having the extra wound. I mean, even a Chaos Lord only has 3 wounds, and you're gonna get 4 with a Tomb King. Right. I don't think they changed any. I think the curse is the same. So like when your king like dies, the final blow, the unit suffers like D6 Strength 5 or D6 Strength 4 if it's a prince, and they're distributed to shooting. And I believe it's the same thing. And if you're killed in the challenge, it just hits the character in the challenge. It doesn't hit the whole unit. Yeah,
it's solid. It's a little like a benefit. It's a kind of a defensive buff. Not that it's going to keep them alive longer, but it's nice if someone kills them, they're going to take some hits. Now the Tomb Kings and Tomb Princes, I really wish they were a bit better, or not better, but had more access to some better weapons. Their offensive output is very meh. Like they're not very good. They're pretty beefy at toughness 5 and the extra wound and everything.
And strength 5. I mean, you got 4 strength 5 there. That's not terrible.
I think it just comes down to the items. They don't really have any bangers as far as like, oh my god, that magic weapon is awesome. So a lot of times, typically, I just put them, if I'm running one, I'm typically just doing it to buff up the weapon skill of like a block of Tomb Guard or chariots, or I also give them a magic item that helps kind of buff the defense of the unit that they're with.
Okay.
They're just kind of hard to build out to be a real beat stick. There are a lot of armies that you can build your main characters out to be beat sticks. The Tomb King just really isn't that.
I mean, you could still get like 4 strength 7 attacks. I mean, that's not terrible. Like all it takes is the giant blade, and give him all sorts. I mean, you give him a 4-up ward. I mean, he can have. I guess
I'm comparing it to like other armies. How like a lot of other armies
you can't go
get, like,
warriors of
8
chaos
attacks. 10 attacks, like all these, big special weapons and stuff. I want that for my Tomb Kings.
Okay, I guess everyone wants everything for their army.
Exactly. Yeah, we're being selfish here.
Yeah, which is fine. We're nerds. We want like the best of the best for our lore. It is what it is. We'll be done. All right, Lich Priests. So they actually went down 10 points compared to 8th edition, which is cool. But I think relatively all their stats stayed exactly the same, and they can still take Lore of Nehekara or Light or Death. Yep, same thing from previous edition. Light's cool if you want to do Light, because then you could even give your just your units always strike first, or more attacks, or all sorts. I don't think you can buff. I think one of the Lore Light spells that like buffs your unit to. It's like +1 to hit, but I don't think that applies from the arrows, because it says like no modifiers whatsoever.
Well, there's the one you might be thinking of, the defensive one. I know there's a defensive one that put it
-1 to hit.
-1 to hit them.
That's right.
So overall, Light is a really good lore for the undead, because getting like a block of Tomb Guard, or big Necropolis Knights or something to be swinging first is really good because of their crappy initiative. So I think that's the Nehekara. I think is underrated. I love that lore.
How many How many wizards do you usually like? If you're saying playing 2,500 points, because that's our norm, do you take only one wizard with Nehekara, or do you like at least 2?
2 for sure. Okay. So I'll typically go with a level 3 or 4 of Nehekara, and then And then it's kind of, I'll probably just take another level 2. I might also make him Nehekara or Lure of Light. I won't go for the Death. I'm not really a huge fan of Death in Tomb Kings.
Yeah.
So it's going to be Nehekara and Light, or it's going to be 2 Nehekaras. And typically 2, I think, is the sweet spot because they're fairly cheap. Like just a hero level Lich Priest is like 65 points for like a level 1 Lich Priest.
Okay.
So they're pretty cheap, and Tomb Kings are just the magic means a lot to Tomb Kings, so they need those buffs. So Lich Priests are like a must-take in every Tomb King army, and I'd say 2 is a sweet spot for a 2K or 2.5K game. Okay. But 1 will get you by. I mean, I've taken 1 before. It's just like, man, I'm just trying to min-max a little bit, get the most for my points, and sometimes I'll end up dropping that second like hero level Lich Priest, but oftentimes it's at least a level 3 or 4.
Cool. Okay, so it looks like the High Priest dropped 10 points and the regular Priest dropped 5. But what's cool is that I don't know if the hero can. Let me confirm. He cannot. So the hero can only go on a skeletal steed, but the Lord can now be mounted on something other than a steed. He can go onto a Toombarg, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm. We can also go onto the Casket of Souls.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, he can go into the casket now, too.
When we had that little fun tournament at your house, that's what I did. I put my Lich Priest onto the Casket of Souls.
That's right. That's right. And it makes him so good. It's like toughness 7 now, or toughness 10.
Toughness 10 for a board.
Crazy.
Yeah, beefy.
Does he do anything extra on top of that?
No.
He just gets his... Okay.
You don't lose anything, you don't gain anything, but it's just if you don't want them sitting in a unit, maybe because there's too many characters in a unit or something, it's a way that you can take them outside of the unit, but also be pretty well protected, because Casket of Souls is another basically auto take, so you have that option. It's the same price, you know what I mean? Like, it might even be saving 5 points to put your Lich Priest on that, but it's a good decision from time. It's something to consider. I've never run the Toombarg, so I'm not familiar with that mount.
Yeah, we're getting to that. That can also, I believe, be taken as just a rare choice, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
All right. We're getting to that as we go down. Yeah. What would be next? Like the Necrotech?
Let's talk about the
Necrotechs.
Now, Necrotechs, solid unit, but we'll end up getting to the named Necrotech, which I'll probably just end up talking about now because we're talking about Necrotechs.
That's fine. Yeah, just go ahead.
The named Necrotech, I think, is an auto take. I'm not sure why you would take a regular one over him. So Necrotechs.
Yeah. If you're being more friendly and casual, you take a regular one.
A regular one, just a basic undead character, move 4, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 3, strength and toughness 4, 2 wounds, 3 initiative, 2 attacks, lead 7, flammable, hatred, undead, special rules. Now, the Wrath of the Creator special rule confers his hatred onto the unit that he is in, which is really strong. And then his another special rule is Stone Shaper. Any friendly unit of monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry, monstrous beasts, or monsters within 12 inches of model with this rule gain the regeneration 6-up special rule. Now that's awesome. It's going to be more, depending on how you build your list, it could be incredibly powerful or just it's all right. But typically, you're probably going to have at least one of these, monstrous infantry, cavalry, beasts, or monsters.
Oh yeah.
Tomb Kings has a lot of that, so
at least
you're probably going to be around. Yeah.
At least.
So having a 6-inch or a 6-up regeneration 12-inch aura is solid. Now, basically,
tell us about the auto include.
The auto include is it does all those same exact things.
What's his name?
His name is Remotep, the Visionary. And he's basically, so in the lore, Necrotechs, they build their monuments and then they're killed and buried within them. That's like their thing. Right. Now, Remotep, his lore is basically he escaped that. He basically built massive monuments and then killed other people and put them inside of there, so he didn't have to die. Right. Now, he does all those same exact things, same stat line and everything, but then he also has Frenzy and the special rule Frantic Fervor, Ramatep confers the Frenzy special rule onto the unit he accompanies. While he remains in the unit can never lose its Frenzy. So between that and his regular Necrotech rule, you're giving a unit that he's in Frenzy and Hatred. So in a unit of Tomb Guard, it's wonderful. And he's only 100. I think he's like 100 points, 105 maybe. So
you're getting this like 10. Let's see what he was now. Hold on, let's see.
Okay. You're getting this massive force multiplier. 100 points. Yeah.
He dropped 10 points.
Yeah. Big force multiplier for 100 points. Now on top of that, so you already have giving a unit Hatred, giving a unit Frenzy, giving the 12-inch 6-up regeneration bubble. On top of those, he also, at the start of the game, select a single friendly unit of monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry, monstrous beast, or monsters. The models in this unit have been restored and embellished by Ramatep, and reroll all failed armor saves during the battle.
Woohoo!
So for 100 points, you're just getting all these buffs. Now that's not really that great, that last roll, on most of your units.
It's only good on one now.
Specifically one, the Necropolis Knights, because they have a 3-up armor save, whereas a lot of those other monsters, infantry, cavalry, beast monsters, they might have a 5-up, but it's likely they're not going to have a save, or they have like a 6-up or something. So if you have a unit of Necropolis Knights, this dude becomes even more of a slight auto-include.
Yep.
And that is it for him. And we are on to, we just want to go to the core skeletons.
Well, did it not talk about Tomb Heralds? Is that later? Or is there no such thing as a Tomb Herald anymore?
There is. Did we skip it?
No, I don't. Is there no longer a Tomb Herald?
Tomb Herald's a thing. It's the BSB.
Oh, okay. So for some reason in the book, it's just a lot further down.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's going to be next to Tomb Guards, isn't it?
Yeah. So let's just go to core. That's fine. So Skeleton Warriors, obviously the same. No real change. I don't even think they went down in points. Let me check that.
I think it's 40 for 10.
So Warriors. Yeah, so it's still 40 for 10 in 8th edition. They could only get spears and light armor, and then obviously full command. Is that the same that they get now? Let's see, core.
Down, but yeah, spears, shields, light armor.
So spears went down 0.5 point, and their musician went down 5 points. So instead of like, was it 40? Instead of 70 points, and if you gave them like light armor and spears for some reason.
Yeah, Skeleton Warriors. For Tomb Kings, they're not that good. I mean, you have like, in comparison, vampire counts. They can make their Skeleton Warriors a lot better. They also have more options
like
to kind of beef them up,
buffing up everything around.
Yeah, and I think they can get like medium armor and shields.
I think you're right. Yeah.
So they can be a little bit beefier defense, and also the buffs that they can get from some of their magic and stuff. And then just other aura abilities and stuff makes their skeletons pretty good. For Tomb Kings, I think they're just kind of a placeholder. If you want blocks of things to kind of stick in the middle of the board and eat charges of big scary things, or whatever. I just don't.
You don't see them too much.
They're a little underwhelming.
There's stronger options out there, but obviously for core, but they're more expensive. Like I still think a unit of Skeleton Warriors with just hand weapon shield, like just a unit of 30 of them, could easily hold for a turn or two. Like
it's 120 points with no command.
Yeah, that's crazy. And you can just sit there and hold something in combat for 3 turns while the rest of your army is doing something. So it's situational, but it's still 120 points, which is like 3 Ushabti or something.
It's solid for like what we were doing with that mission pack where you have objectives and you want to be on objectives. 120 points for 30. You got to do 30 wounds. Well, they're going to crumble after losing combat, but you still have to put a little bit into that to kill those 30 Skeleton Warriors. So I would never consider making Skeleton Warriors a centerpiece or trying to buff them or anything. I'd leave them base, leave them cheap, and just try to score some points if you have objective-based missions.
I agree.
And leave it at that, because then you're going to get to your stronger core options. Starting with the Skeleton Archers.
Oh yeah, Now they went up 2 points. They were only 6 points a model. Now they're 8 points a model. But so I guess since that's interesting. I don't know why they went up 2 points.
I mean, it's probably just because they were the.
Because you can multi-shot.
Stick. Yeah,
I think it's because you can multi-shot and volley fire is a little bit better.
Yeah, that was like the only one of the very few competitive builds in 8th edition, from what I remember, is just big ass blocks of Khalida skeleton archers. Because that
hitting
rule, arrows of
poison.
Asaph, but just arrows of Asaph in general. That's why skeleton archers are good. So I think it's 60 points for 10, and they're just always hit on 5s. Oh, is it 80? Okay.
Yeah.
80 points for 10, and just always hitting on 5s, multi-shooting until to your heart's content. Like they're just a solid unit. They don't have any AP. They're trash. They're garbage. they're absolute trash. But Arrows of Asaph rule, being able to always hit on 5s and do that with multi-shot. So, they're still cheap in comparison to like other archers from other armies and stuff. So it's a lot of shots basically, but it's all strength 3, regular bows. Strength 3,
range 24, I guess.
Yep, range 24. So they're trash, but within some of the ways you can buff them, they're solid, and there's a solid core choice in general.
Yeah, even they could hold objectives if you want. Even if you're holding like you can easily pick apart like any chaff that the enemy has. Like you're shooting, like if you don't move, you're shooting 20 shots hitting on 5s.
Right. Like, I think it's a pretty smart thing to have at least like
6 shots,
even if
7 shots hits.
Even if you're not taking Khalida, I would put like 2 units of 12 or 20 archers or something, just to have putting out 20 archers putting out 40 shots hitting on 5s. And those can just be your units that you sit on objectives and stuff. I think they're really solid.
Yeah, I agree. They have their purpose. They have their purpose.
Yes.
So now Tomb Swarms. Now Tomb Swarms used to be in special, but now they're in core, and they're the same amount of points, but they're not even expendable. I just see poison. So you could actually just fill your entire core with Tomb Swarms. Unless the troop type swarm just counts as expendable. Hold on, let me look that up.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I've never really looked into swarms until recently, and looked at the Tomb Swarms, and yes, I am interested because 10
swarms are really good in WoP. Swarms are really good in WoP.
Yeah, man.
They went up to 10 wounds.
What is it? How many points are they?
So they're 40.
40 points for what?
Strength 1, toughness 1, 10 wounds, but 10 attacks. So
it's just 1 square? So like 40 points for 1 square?
140 mil base for 10 poison attacks with 10 wounds.
Yeah.
Now, in the updated rules, sorry to interrupt.
You're good.
The new upcoming changes, Tomb Swarms, they're going to drop to 8 wounds, and they're going to drop to 8 attacks, but they also drop 5 points. So
okay. That's completely reasonable, because 40 points for those 10 wounds is pretty busted.
Yes. And poison attacks. So, like, you're always wounding on 5s unless something's, like, immune to poison. But, like, that's pretty good.
Yeah, and they're also, I've seen the special rules, Entombed Beneath the Sands. That's a really good choice for an entombed unit, man.
Yeah.
Like, if you just have, especially if they're core, so you can take a bunch of them, take individual squares, entomb them all beneath the sands, and then in the second turn, just start rolling artillery dice everywhere. You just have these little 40mm bases popping up all over the battlefield, interrupting ranks. I think that's a really good
all those
spot.
beetles. What are those beetles called from like
the Mummy?
Yeah, I can't remember those freaking beetle names.
I remember what they're called, but
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
They like crawl in your skin and everything, and just go off your brain. Where's swarms? Now I noticed you have to have at least 2 bases in a unit. You can't just be 1.
Okay.
And there's no max actually in WoP, but in 8th edition there was a minimum or maximum of 10. So you could just do 1 huge line across the whole front and just
good luck.
Good luck. There's like 300 wounds.
That would be a dick move.
A little bit.
But yeah, I think these guys have multiple purposes, multiple ways that you can run them, and actually for them to actually be good. They're a very versatile unit.
Okay.
So I hope to get some one day.
So there is a rule. Swarms do come with the special rule expendable. As a troop type swarm, you do come with expendable, which means you can't have more expendable units in your core or in there more than other units. So you can't do 2 units of swarms and 1 unit of archers. You have to at least have another unit of non-expendable unit in that section of like choices.
But it's still easy enough for Tomb Kings, because Tomb Kings you have a lot of core options.
So what you could easily do is, since swarms have a unit strength of 0 in terms of line of sight, you can put your swarms in front and have your archers right behind, just shooting over. And it's like they have to get through the swarms.
Yeah, that's solid.
Right. Next, what you got, man?
Move on to, what do we got? The skeleton horseman.
Probably the rarest core unit you see.
Skeleton horseman.
Yeah.
So, I have a bunch. I have like 20 of these guys painted up real nice. I don't often use them. Well, no, okay, I take that back. I didn't realize it was a separate entry, a separate data sheet. So I actually have the skeleton horse archers.
Right.
Okay. The skeleton horsemen, they just have I think it's just like a spear and shield.
Yeah, and you can give them light armor.
Yeah. Ooh. See, the issue, I'm gonna kind of tie these together, the skeleton horsemen and skeleton horse archers. They're the same exact unit. One has a bow, one has spears. Now, the thing that I think really hurts them is because, tell me, what do you want to do with extremely cheap, expendable fast cavalry?
I guess the only thing I could think of is run them up and get charged as like a speed bump.
Exactly. You want to move them around. You want to kind of block and stuff like that.
Right.
Tomb Kings can't march. So, and you have your 8-inch movement. They're fast cavalry that can only move 8 inches.
Right.
That's doesn't really do a whole lot. I think that really sucks for the regular skeleton horsemen. The skeleton horse archers, I think, have some play. That's why I have a bunch of them. Just because they have arrows, they don't necessarily need to get up into someone's face. So I still typically, 8 inches isn't, it's 8 inches of movement. It's not bad.
It's nothing to. 8 inches is pretty good.
I know, but I'm just thinking like most fast cav, it's like, basically Tokyo drifting 20 inches up the board. That's. That's kind of what you want from fast.
You're just having vision of my Slanesh steeds, just 20 inches of the board.
Right. Now, like the wood elves that I play with and stuff, there's just a lot of fast stuff that can kind of get sideways and move around a bit. These guys can't do that. So I'll oftentimes still, just because they're core, I'll run like maybe a couple units of 5, just to still kind of do that, kind of move up on the flanks, and if I can, try to block some charges and stuff. Yeah. They're still really useful for that. They're just not as fast as your usual fast cav.
So I think rules as written on the Discord, they've been talking about how even units that have immune to psychology are able to fire and flee when they get charged. So they can't flee, but they can fire and flee. So rules as written, that's just how it is. So undead.
You're saying they can still shoot, but they can't run away?
So yeah, skeleton horse archers rules as written. I think this is getting changed. But the horse archers were able to fire and then flee instead of just hold.
Right, because you can only ever hold.
Yeah, but not with the rules as written right now. But I think they're changing that. So I hope that they try and break ITP into kind of 2 categories. Because this was my argument. If you're a war dancer, a wood elf war dancer, yeah, you're not scared of a big monster or like ugly looking things. You don't get, you're not susceptible to fear. Right. But you are smart. You're still a smart elf. It's not like you're frenzied. You know tactics to like draw someone in, so then the arrows, penetrate and take everything out. And then while they're like discombobulated, that's when you charge in and finish.
That makes sense.
Yeah, but we'll see what they do there. But yeah, horse archers right now, and horsemen, there's so many better things you could put your points to. I don't see them very often.
A couple times I've put a lich priest on a horse in like a big block of like 10 horse archers.
Right.
But even then, why wouldn't you just take the regular archers and put your lich priests in there?
Yeah,
I guess if you just want to be a little more mobile, because it's still
Right.
8 inches is good for Tomb Kings, even though they can't march.
Yeah.
So I have done that idea, put a lich priest in with like 10 skeleton horse archers, and that way I just kind of have more like mobile lich priest riding around, the unit flinging out some arrows. But I mean, overall, you have better options, which are skeleton chariots.
Haha.
The cream of the crop when it comes to core units, especially with Tomb Kings.
I think their most notable unit is skeleton chariots, just big blocks of them. That's what.
Yeah, most
are known for.
Most armies in Warhammer Fantasy, a lot of them have chariots, but a lot of times it's just a chariot. Like you take a chariot and your special or your rare or whatever. Or are there even any other armies that can take units of chariots, or is it just Tomb Kings?
Goblins can. You can take wolf chariots.
Yeah.
There's the Tyrannok High Elf chariot that can do that.
Okay, so there are a few others.
Just a couple. Maybe Beastmen. Maybe like the weaker Beastman chariot, but I think that's probably it. I can't think of any others off the top of my head.
If for Tomb Kings, you can make your entire core just blocks of chariots, and there's nothing cooler than seeing like 8 chariots, like 2x4, like big ass units of chariots. I think that's really cool, and chariots themselves they're not the greatest unit, but as far as trying to fill out your core, like, because if your minimum 25% of your list has to be core, so you want to fill that out with something that's going to have a purpose and be good in general, and I think the chariots are perfect for that. So you have movement 8, so they can get around pretty well. 3 wounds apiece, toughness 4. I believe they just have a 5-up chariot armor save. No, actually it says here 6-up. I don't think it used to be 5-up.
But they do come with light armor, so it's like,
maybe that's what I'm
thinking
of.
Thing. It's they did just used to have a 5-up. That's just like what they had, but now it's a 6-up plus the light armor, so it's still a 5-up.
Okay, I gotcha.
But they also went down 7 points.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, they were 55 apiece. Now they're 48, which is pretty big. And now
chariots are super cool. They have a bunch of different weapons, so they're not the greatest in combat unless you like buff them up a little bit.
You have to get the charge. Get the charge.
But they do have each one. They have the bows and the throwing javelins, which also have arrows of Asaph. So if you have a big unit of 6 chariots, that's 12 arrows or 12 javelins.
Yep.
Which are pretty solid. And javelins
with 360 line of sight.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's the cool part with the chariots and the archers. 360 degree.
And you can give them side wheels.
Side wheels. So let's get into that. So the biggest part of chariots is the charge, is the impact hits. It's D6 impact hits per chariot. If you go, I think the rule used to be different. Now a second rank of chariots is an extra D3 impact hits per chariot. I think it used to buff the strength of it.
Yes.
And now it's just D3 impact hits per second rank of chariot.
Yep.
But a lot of times I'll just run units of 3 chariots, so that's 3D6 impact hits for, I believe, 9 points. You can give impact size, so that's one extra impact hit, so you're getting D6 plus 1 impact hits per chariot.
Plus 3.
Yep, and then and it's at strength 4, so strength 4 impact hits, and that's a lot. So it's oftentimes really important that chariots get the charge, because they're not that good in a standing combat. They're not gonna. They might hold the ground against some weaker chaff core units and stuff, but they'll typically get beat up pretty good if they just get stuck in with anything that is a real killing machine. So you need those impact hits. There's nothing more depressing than when you got like, all right, 3d6, let's go, and then you roll 3 impact hits, and it's like, okay, well, there goes that. But on the other end of that, I've had times where I think with a unit of 6, I've rolled like 25 impact hits or something. Woo! So before combat even starts, 25
strength 4
impact hits.
Right.
So that can just ruin the combat right there, and it does go to combat resolution. So that can change the tide of a game, and they're cheap enough to where, like I said, they're just filling out your core. So there's a good unit to just basically have charging your basically your front line of units, and just there's nothing cooler than seeing just a battlefield of just like chariots. Like it's just such a cool aesthetic. I love it.
And now one of the changes is for standards and WAP, at least in the upcoming changes, warriors, archers, and horse, like skeleton horsemen and horse archers, they can all now take a banner up to 25 points. And the chariot banner is currently only up to 25, but it's going to be upped to up to 50. So
which one is that?
The skeleton chariots. They will, I guess, when the upcoming
changes you mean they can take one up to 50?
Up to 50.
Gotcha.
So there's a ton of options. Like you could do the Rampager standard, so then you can re-roll your charge. If you're like, you need to get your charge off with this one unit, well, then give them the Rampager standard and re-roll it. On to special.
Good ones.
Tomb Guard.
Here we go.
Those killing blow, strength 4, toughness 4. No one likes to face them, or no one likes getting close combat with them. Infantry, heavy infantry, or maybe not heavy, but elite infantry for Tomb Kings.
Yep.
You can take pole arms. So they went down 1 point a model. They were 11, now they're 10. And you can give them a halberd for 1 point. You used to have to give them a halberd for 2 points. So it went from a 13-point total to a 11-point total. And they still have light armor, shield, all that stuff. Still Tomb Blades, which is killing blow.
Yeah, that rule changed.
Tomb Blade?
Yeah, they used to just have killing blow, I'm pretty sure. Then now they have the rule Tomb Blades. So it's like a...
what does that rule do specifically? Let's see.
Models with their special rule have the killing blow and magical attack special rules.
Oh, so you have magical attacks now, too.
Yeah, before I think they just had killing blow.
Yeah, it was just flat killing blow.
Have Tomb Blades. And there's a couple units within the army that have Tomb Blades.
Right.
Like I think the Tomb Herald has a Tomb Blade and some other stuff. But
okay.
Yeah, so the Tomb Guard are my favorite, well, at least one of my favorite Tomb King units. If you've played against me in Warhammer Fantasy, it's very unlikely that you haven't seen a big block of Tomb Guard. Tomb Guard on their own are decent, respectable, nothing to really be scared of, though. I mean, 1 attack, strength 4, strength 5 if you take the halberds, which I do.
Yeah, but you got a prince or something in there, so they're going to be like weapon skill 5.
Yep. So, the way you can buff these boys, as Blue just said, you have your prince or your king, so you're going to be weapon skill 5 or 6 with my will be done. I personally like then putting Mr. Ramotep that I talked about at length earlier in the video.
Frenzy, hatred, just
so
like...
you give them frenzy and hatred, so they're now down up to 2 attacks apiece, re-rolling hit rolls at strength 5. And then further, Lore of Nehekara is awesome. I like to give them a 5-up ward. I also really, really, really like to give them an extra attack, so then you have 3 attacks apiece at strength 5 with killing blow, re-rolling.
And you just said they're not scary.
That's what I said. Looking at the data sheet,
sure,
they're just kind of they're a good unit, but it's the buffs, and that's what's so critical for Tomb Kings in general. I'll be touching on it a lot. I already have throughout the video. The buffing, the synergy is very important for Tomb Kings. Most of these units on their own are trash compared to like their elven counterparts or whoever. They're not very good. They rely on the
trash
synergy
compared
and
to elven counterparts.
Oh yeah. Well, I'll put that to the test next time I see you.
Okay.
But yeah, that's basically it. I think then we get into Tomb Heralds. This is where they're at. They're basically the they also have the Tomb Blades special rule. So they're an individual character. Basically, these guys are the sworn bodyguard noted in the March rules we went over earlier. Guys can only march if they are accompanied by a character who has the My Will Be Done or the Sworn Bodyguard special rule. Right. Tomb Herald has the Sworn Bodyguard special rule. Now he has movement 4 as usual, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 3, strength and toughness 4, 2 wounds, 1 initiative, 3 attacks, leadership 8. Now this is the guy that you can give the...
He's initiative 1? Is he really?
Initiative 3.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. 2 wounds, 1 initiative. Oh,
See, you did it again.
Initiative 3, attacks 3, leadership 8.
Okay.
So this is the guy who can be your BSB. He's going to take your standard bear, which is the 12-inch aura of losing a combat, you lose D3 less models due to crumbling. I don't often take them. I have taken the Tomb Herald. I don't often, though. I don't think that D3 is terribly important.
No.
But
it's nice to have just like if let's say you don't put a prince or a tomb guard or a tomb king or a tomb prince in a certain unit, like if you have a unit of skeletons nearby or something, putting a cheap Tomb Herald in there isn't bad, because then they could at least march up and keep up with the tomb guard. I mean,
I think that they're solid.
I
just personally have typically taken like a prince or something over a Tomb Herald.
Yeah, for sure.
So the Sworn Bodyguard special rule: if you have any characters with a My Will Be Done special rule in your army, you must nominate one of them for the Tomb Herald to protect at the start of the game.
Right.
The same character may not be nominated by several Tomb Heralds. The oath is a sacred one between the master and his chosen champion. Whenever the nominated character suffers a wound before saves are taken, and the Tomb Herald is in the same unit as him, roll a d6. On a 1, the wound is resolved as normal. On a 2-up, the wound is intercepted and reallocated to the Tomb Herald. No more than 1 wound can be reallocated to each Tomb Herald in each phase. Wounds in a challenge cannot be reallocated. Right. It is Duel of Honor, and the Tomb Herald may not interfere. Now, so you got to put him in your unit with Tomb Prince or Tomb King to really get this effect.
Mm-hmm. And he can still get saves, right? Yeah, whenever blah blah suffers a wound before saves are taken. So you can build your Tomb Herald to just be a tank. You know, give him, I guess, in WAP, easily give him a 4-up ward in terms of like combining.
That's really all you can do. Yeah. It's the enchanted item.
Yeah. So you make the king or the prince like the beat stick, and then you have a Tomb Herald in there who's going to be like it's just 2 extra free wounds. Well, it's not free, but 2 extra wounds to like get a 4-up parry to parry the wound that is about to hit the king or prince. So
right, and
it's attacks, but it's it's pretty nice if someone's attacking your king or prince and they're expecting to just like, oh, I'm going to kill him this turn, but then 2 wounds get allocated because it's a 2-up, so there's a good chance 2 wounds get allocated to the herald, and then your king or prince is still kicking.
Yeah, and with them having 3 wounds for princes, 4 wounds for the Tomb King, then that just makes them that much beefier. Now, if I'm not mistaken, there's a couple of banners that are more than 50 points, and I think this is your road to taking those. Is the Tomb Herald? I don't think you can take a magic banner over 50 points with any unit other than the Tomb Herald.
Correct.
So if you want a magic banner that's more than 50 points, you got to take a Tomb Herald, give it to him, and then stick him in the unit that you want the banner to be a part of. So that's
and then he can still take 25 points of magic items too.
Yep.
Which is nice.
So he's a solid choice. He doesn't really do a whole lot special, but he protects your guy, your Tomb Prince or Tomb King. He allows you to take more magic banner or more expensive magic banners. He allows the unit that he's in to march. So overall, it's just a nice little force multiplier. How many points is he?
In old or current?
Current.
That I don't know. Old, he's 60. Current, he is.
Sounds about. I think he's more than that.
Also 60. Nope. Same price.
Really?
Yep. Same price. Yep.
I know there's a named Tomb Herald that I think is like 160.
Question: do you have to be on foot to do the bodyguard thing? Did it say that?
You have to be in the unit.
Oh, so you could do. Okay, so you could put your lord and a herald on a chariot, and then he can soak up the wounds from that too. Just funny,
I like that.
I like that. Who knows what happens? Something cool.
And now we are on to the Tomb Bark. Do you want to go over this?
Sure.
I know nothing about this guy. I don't know if you have any experience or stories or anything.
So I've never fought one, but it's a new unit for Tomb Kings. I assume it's because there's some very cool 3D printed alternative minis for it. What it does, it's hovers, so it only has movement. I think it's going to have fly movement 5.
Isn't it like a little boat?
One.
It's like a little.
Yeah. It's like someone's like rowing the thing.
Rowing in the air.
Yeah, I think that's the alternative, the 3D printed one. I don't think there's an actual picture of it in here.
I'm gonna have to check it out. I've read the rules. It seems interesting.
It's cool. Yeah, so like the Tomb Bark and friendly units within 6 of it have a 6-up ward. So it's just a flat 6-up ward. So if you think, I kind of think of it as like a war altar. in terms of it's like buffing other units or the Empire Hurricanum, where like it just the Luminarch, because the Luminarch gives a 6-up ward bubble. So it's just a nice little support item or support unit but it's still strength 5, toughness 5 with 5 wounds. It has hover, so it can fly 10, I believe is the new, what it's going to do. Yeah, it's going to have fly 5 when the upcoming changes come out, because it's going to get changed around a little bit.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it has a fly 5 for some weird reason.
It's mostly just floating. It's not really flying. It's
just
floating along.
Yes. But at the beginning of each of your turns, you can choose one ward. Okay, you can either make it ethereal, so it's only going to be killed, attacked, or wounded by magical attacks or combat res. You can do the ward of Soketh, whatever. Enemy units within 12 must reroll 6s when rerolling to hit in combat. Okay, which is pretty good. Yeah, and then also the ward of Tahoth. All friendly wizards within 6 inches gain the Lore Master rule. So I don't know, like you could do. I don't know why Lore Master is that huge. If there's just a spell you need, but you didn't take when you generated your wizard. And
even when you take Lore, because even when you take Lore Master, you can still only go up to the level that you're at. Right.
The only way I could think that would be cool is if you have some wizards where some of the lore spells could stack. Like if you keep casting the same one and it's just keep buffing or you want a crap ton of strong magic missiles or something. Because like if you couldn't take it because, and when you choose lores and spells, you can't have wizards with the same spells unless you've already had all the other ones. So then you could like double or triple up on spells and just blow something off the field kind of thing.
I didn't think of that, but that actually I think is really good.
Yeah, it could be cool.
Because of Lord of Nehekara, those spells, man, some of them are like really damn good, like force multipliers. So if you can start flinging out multiple of those spells, whether it be the extra attack or the 5-up ward, things like that,
even if your opponent like dispels the march one, dispels the one where you get to march, you're like, cool, I'm gonna cast it again.
Everyone has that.
Oh really? Is it a signature?
Yeah, that's it. Okay. That's the marked restless.
Ignore me then.
Wins. I forget.
There's cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then they have.
I didn't even think of that.
Okay, so I think these are the beetles. Keeper beetles. Enemy units in base contact suffer 2d6 strength 2 hits at the start of each close combat phase. Nothing amazing, but it's just a cool little phonetic thing.
So what I like this. What I'm now looking at is, so I see 6-up armor. And I see 5 wounds, toughness 5. How many points?
Let's see. I believe it's a rare choice. I
think it's like 100 or something.
Is it a rare choice? Maybe it's not even a rare. Maybe it's only a mount. Herald, Titan, Colossus, Sphinx. Toonbark, 125 points.
Is it rare or special?
It is special, actually.
Special.
So you could take 2 of these buggers.
Okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, I like that. It's not 125 points.
You could take 2 of them. So that means you could do the 6-up ward twice and ward stack. So that means you're given a unit of 5-up ward. Just the
aura.
Have 5-up ward and have like you could put a whole bunch of skeleton warriors in front and just give them like, if they get a 6-up parry, now they're going to have a 4-up parry if both of the things there. Just funny.
I might actually have to look into seeing some models for these and maybe get one. It seems cool. I've looked at it and I remember thinking it was like decent.
It has 5 crew and they all have spears and a bow. Oh, and they have light armor, so it's actually a 5-up armor save.
Okay. So
you're also shooting 5 bows.
Yeah.
And it's a chariot, so it's going to have impact hits when you charge at strength 5.
Yeah, I think this unit definitely has some play.
And if you want your priest instead of on a casket, you could put him on this thing, so now he's going to have 5 toughness, 5 wounds.
I don't know. That was kind of my thinking, though. I don't think
it's gross.
If the opponent wants this dead, I think they could do it. So I think if you did that, you'd have to take the 4-up ward magic item to really give yourself some defense here. Right. Toughness 5, 5 wounds. I'm just terrified of a cannon shot, just like ending my day.
For sure.
All right. Now on to Casket of Souls.
That's all you, man.
Auto take.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Literally, I've never seen someone have a Tomb King army without a Casket of Souls. So basically, the Casket of Souls is really there for the spell. I think it's 135 points.
Yep.
It has a bound spell that is really awesome. And then also, it gives at the beginning of every magic phase, in your magic phase, you're going to roll a d6, or it's technically a d3, and you get that many extra power dice, magic power dice at the beginning of every phase. And that's massive, because if you get some channels and your d3 extra, you just constantly end up with a lot of magic dice, which is super important. Going back to the magic being really important, to buffing being really important for Tomb Kings, it's important that you have a lot of magic spells go off. So the more dice is awesome, and that's what makes this so important.
Harris, go ahead. Say what the spell does.
The spell,
let the audience
Light
know.
of Death, init bound spell, power level 5. The Casket of Souls can use this spell as long as the keeper of the casket model is alive and the Casket of Souls does not move this turn. Light of Death is a direct damage spell with a range of 48 inches. The target of Light of Death must take a leadership test on 3d6, adding the results together. If the test is passed, nothing happens. Otherwise, for each point that the unit failed the test by, it suffers an automatic wound which ignores armor saves, distributed as for shooting attacks. And then once the leadership test has been resolved, roll a d6. On a 3 or more, choose another unengaged enemy unit within 6 inches of the initial target. The tortured souls leap to that unit, which must also suffer the effects of the Light of Death spell. Yep. Keep rolling for further victims, each within 6 inches of the last struck target, until the roll is failed or there are no more viable targets. The unit can only be targeted by the Light of Death once per magic phase.
Yep.
Baller.
Yeah,
it's super swingy. It's swingy, but it can devastate a game real quickly. If you keep rolling 3-ups for the souls to keep bouncing, and they're rolling high on their 3d6 leadership. When I was at your house and did it to Pete, I believe his name was.
Yeah, Peter.
And
Peter.
What was it? Reiksguard Knights. Yeah, Reiksguard Knights. At a unit of 10, this spell just picked it up. It was turn number 1. This spell picked up an entire unit of Reiks. He rolled like a 16 on 3d6.
Yeah, it's crazy. That like ends the game right there. I mean,
exactly.
That's like 300 points just gone. But it can also do like nothing. So I don't know if anyone watched Mountain Gaming. You know, Steve from Mountain Gaming. He played. Was it? I don't know if it was Cullen. He played some new guy. I can't remember his name. But it was Beastman versus Tomb Kings, and he ran Tomb Kings. And he did a couple wounds with it every once in a while, but then on some terms it just did nothing. But it also
I do nothing more than I do something for sure. I mean, it is more common that I don't do anything, or maybe I'll do a wound to like an infantry unit or something. It's kind of think artillery in that way, just without the mishap bad side effect.
And it forces your opponent to use dice, because it's like if you target a unit and they know, oh, it's only leadership 7, and I can't it's like a monster. Most monsters don't have high leadership, so you target a monster and you could just take a couple wounds off it instantly. That's pretty important.
Yeah.
I think everything's the same about it, except the Casket Guard actually got a strength and a toughness buff from 8th edition. So they were strength 3, toughness 3, but now in here.
So they're basically just Tomb Guard. They're Tomb Guard with an extra attack. They do have 2 attacks apiece.
Really good. There'd be strength 6 on the first round.
Yeah. What another thing that makes this unit awesome is its toughness 10. Toughness 10 with a 4-up ward save. So likely things, just about anything in the game, even if it's strength 8, it's going to need a 6 to wound you, I'm pretty sure.
That's pretty much.
So basically you're always going to need 6s to wound you, and once they do wound you, you have a 4-up ward, and you have 3 wounds?
No, you have 10 wounds. Or no, I'm sorry. Yeah, I guess it's 3 wounds. It's 1 for each guard and then the keeper.
On my Codex download, it's not saying how many wounds it has. It just has a dash next to Casket of Souls, and it has 1 for the keeper and 1 for the casket. So I guess that's how you would calculate it.
I think it's based on the crew, the number of crew.
So 3 wounds.
Now, if you put I guess it still only has 3 wounds, even if you put a 2 priest on there. I don't think you get the priest wounds combined with the 2 casted guard. I think it stays at 3.
I'm not sure. I think that's probably how I played it. So it was, the Lich Priest is basically just replaces the Keeper of the Casket, but I always thought I had 3 wounds.
But it is a War Machine, so I think some of the upcoming changes are changing how a War Machine works. But right now, if you charge a War Machine as rules is written right now, it's you're -1 to hit the crew, and you don't get charge bonuses. And if you take dangerous terrain for like running over obstacles or forests or stuff like that, you're going to take a dangerous terrain for charging the War Machine. Just a lot of that's going to get lessened a little bit, but that's just it's pretty defensible too. It's got a 4-up ward.
4-up ward, toughness 10, and if you somehow do manage to kill the Casket of Souls, roll a d6 for every unit, friend or foe, within 12 inches of the casket before it's removed from play. On a roll of 4 up, that unit immediately suffers d6 strength 6 hits distributed as for shooting. These are magical attacks, and no armor saves can be taken against them. After resolving the effects of Unleashed Souls, remove the Casket of Souls as normal. So for 135 points, you get a banging spell that's just it can just level a game. It also gives you D3 extra power dice in your magic phase, and when magic is so important for Tomb Guard. It's super tanky, a toughness 10, 4-up ward. So this is an auto include for most Tomb King players. Oh, if you take a second, so you get D3 power dice for the first Casket of Souls. If you were to take a second Casket of Souls, it would just be 1 extra power dice for each Casket of Souls after that. But it's a rare choice, so it's not going to come up a whole lot.
Right.
And
I think in 8th edition, it didn't give any extra. It just says if you have 1 or more, you add D3. So now, at least if you take a second one at high points games, you at least get 1 extra. Okay, Screaming Skull catapults.
These are also somewhat, I wouldn't say auto-include, but they're super good. I think it's 100 points. 100 points. Now, these are basically like your normal War Machine catapult, toughness 7, 3 wounds. It just has a small template, strength 10 in the center, strength 4 for everything that the template touches. The biggest difference is Screaming Skulls. All shooting attacks made by a Screaming Skull catapult are magical and have the flaming attack special rule. In addition, any unit that suffers just a single or more casualties from a shooting attack by a Screaming Skull catapult must take a panic test as if it had taken 25% casualties. That has just turn 1 basically won me a game before. Because if like a unit loses a single model and then fails and then runs off the board.
The worst thing that's happened to me is I was playing a 10,000 point game, and I was running ogres, and I was fighting Tomb Kings and something else, I don't remember. And the catapult, it hit my general's unit with my BSB, and I failed the reroll twice, and there goes like 10% of my army just ran off the board. Goodness. But it also panicked the 2 units next to them. One was a a Stonehorn, ran off the board because there's no longer a general leadership there. And then it ran like another unit of like 6 lead belchers off the board. And it was like, okay, cool. Good game, guys.
Yeah, I haven't had that happen before. But
that was the worst.
That's basically the extreme of what this catapult is capable of. That rule is just so can be devastating. Now you can take the Skulls of the Foe upgrade. I believe it's a 20-point upgrade.
Yes.
This upgrade adds an additional effect to the catapult Screaming Skulls. If a target unit takes a panic test as a result of being hit by the Skulls of the Foe, then they must take that leadership test with a -1 penalty.
Take it all the time. Always take it.
If I have 20 points, I'm taking that.
So the catapult, it was in rare, but now it's special. So now you can take 2 of them. You used to only able to take 1 of these guys. So it went up 10 points overall, but the Skull of the Foe upgrade went down 10 points. So if it's the same points if you take the Skulls of the Foe both games. But the fact that you can take 2 of these now at like 2,000 points is huge. Because you can just try and panic 2 units, and it being it causing flaming attacks is great because there's a lot of regen stuff out there. So you hit you do 1 wound with the flaming attack catapult, and then you just shoot a ridiculous amount of archers at them. Because do flaming attacks still lose the regen for the entire phase, or is it just?
I think they just ignore regen.
Okay, so there's no longer like a phase thing. It's gone.
I don't think so.
Okay, well
I think they just ignore the regen save for that.
Okay.
Thing,
okay.
I believe.
Okay. You're probably right.
But that's still like this catapult is stone thrower is as good as you can get for a 100-point stone thrower.
Yep.
So you see it; they're very, very common in Tomb King lists, both in 8th edition and in WAP. Now, the bone thrower, which is just a basic bolt thrower. I've never used it.
That's remnants back to like 4th or 5th edition. I think it might have been 4th edition is when they had a bolt thrower. You're always hitting on 5s though, like your BS2. So no matter what you do, you're hitting on 5s. And I think was it like 35 points?
I was going to say like 45, but yeah, I think it's a solid choice. Is it a special unit as well?
35 points. Yep.
35 points. So yeah, taking 2 of these for 70 points. I don't see why not. I just don't have the models, but yeah, a bolt thrower for 35 points. Solid.
I agree.
Bestethi.
That's good.
Never used them. Looked at the data sheet a little bit. So from my understanding, they are cats.
Yep. So I'll look at the. Oh, y'all can't see it. Never mind. Yeah. So the image in the book is just like this feline. It looks pretty thick. It looks like
basically looks like a panther with lynx ears.
Yeah.
Like a big like black panther with lynx ears, and it's got some like golden ornaments and stuff on it.
Yeah.
Like war paint almost.
I think it was very cool that he made a unit like this. I guess there was some lore and fluff in the background that talked about him a lot, because I know obviously the Egyptians idolized cats, and
there's definitely lore behind it on its page.
Yeah, yes, good point. So I know the Sphinx used to actually be, I think it was a lion or a cat before, like one of the pharaohs was like, I want it to look like me for some reason. I think it got defaced by all this. Something happened, and then he made it look like a person. But I think it used to be a feline, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. I think saw that on like the History Channel or something like that. But
sounds right.
I don't know what they do. I've never read them or nothing. So
it's a war beast. So it's just a single entity, but you can take units of them. I think it starts off as a single entity. I should probably double check that.
It's probably special, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's 5+. 5+.
Okay, so you got to take 5 minimum. Now this unit is similar to Sisters of the Thorn and Wood Elves in that it's points. A level each for each. So 110 for 5.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
So it's similar. It's a unit that counts as a caster. So it's considered to be a level 2 wizard, and it knows the spells Jaff's Incantation of Cursed Blades and Petra's Incantation of Righteous Smiting. Those 2 spells are the +1 attack or shot spell, and the give a unit killing blow or add 1 to their killing blow number rolls. So those 2 spells doesn't stop other wizards from knowing those spells. It receives an additional +1 to cast for each rank of 5 or more models in the unit to a maximum of +3. When you, just like these other units that count as casters, you choose 1 model in the unit to count for like range and line of sight and everything. If they roll a miscast, the unit just suffers D3 wounds that ignore armor saves.
Okay.
And that's basically it. So, I mean,
gives you 2 channels, gives you 2 free channels every turn.
Yeah, and it's a strength 4, toughness 4, 2 wounds each. So even just a unit of 5, it's they do.
And always strike first, which is
always strikes first, flammable, undead, and vanguard. So yeah, it's a pretty cool unit, especially if you want those spells, which they're good spells. So I don't see a reason not. I just don't have those models. If I had some big ass looking cool cats like that, I'd probably take them.
So I think what just popped into my head, I was writing it down, trying to figure out what I could do. This is just a stupid army list, but it sounds fun. You take 2 tomb barges, and you take a whole bunch of skeleton warriors, and let's say you have a couple priests, and they all do the righteous smiting. So then all your skeleton warriors are going to get killing blow. And if your tomb bargs do the lore master, then you can get multiple killing blows. And you said it stacks. Is that right?
What does?
Plus so if you have killing blow, if you already have it and you're that's casted on you, it gives you +1.
Yeah, it would go on a 5-up.
Yep. Okay, so then you have a whole bunch of skeleton warriors rolling 5-ups for killing blow. I thought that would be
fun.
That would be hilarious. I think that would be comical, very comical.
Yeah, but I think this unit's it's cool because it's movement 8 with Vanguard, 2 wounds apiece. It always strikes first, strength 4, 2 attacks each. So they can kill some chaff. They're not really a combat unit, but they're fast. And if there's something, a chariot or just some like random chaff units or something that you could flank, they're pretty good for that. And they give you 2 good spells, and like you said, the 2 channels. So I think it's a pretty solid unit. 110 points for 5 minimum.
Yeah, it's not bad.
22 points each. So
that's about the point. That's about the point cost of most chariots too. A lot of regular, like standard non-Tomb King chariots are about 100 to like 130 points. So instead of that, you get 5 of those in a caster. Yeah, that's pretty good.
If I might do some research and see if there's some cool looking models that look anything like that cat. And
I know there's the newer like Age of Sigmar one, but I think it's pretty big. You know which one? Let's see if I can find the name of it.
For what army?
That's a good question. Maybe it's a Warcry model. It might be a Warcry. It's definitely like a big looking feline thing.
Okay, yeah, I imagine this would just be on the 40 mil or.
No, this is a war beast. This is the same size as like a dire wolf, or it's just a cavalry base.
Yeah, cavalry base. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Next.
A mutt.
Yeah.
Now these I know even less about. They are, I guess, alligators.
Yeah. That was one of their gods. Had like the alligator mouth.
Yeah, it's a monstrous beast. Strength 5, toughness 5, 3 wounds, 3 attacks. Movement 7, weapon skill 4. It has
Scouts.
The killing blow, magical attacks, natural armor 6-up, scouts, and unstable. When this alligator causes a successful killing blow, it regains 1 wound lost earlier in the battle. And then Hunter of the Evil and Wicked, the mutt may re-roll failed to wound rolls against models from the forces of destruction. Do you have the thing in front of you?
I think he's 52 points, if I remember right.
Is it a single entity, or is it a
Yes.
unit?
Yeah, it's a single fella. Where is he? Yep, you can't even take him in units. He's just by himself.
Gotcha. For 50 points, 52?
52. For 52 points. I don't know why 52, but 52 for some reason.
Yeah. So a single entity with 3 wounds, toughness 5, and a 6-up armor. He just has scouts.
He could be annoying, that's for sure.
Yeah, I wish he had like Entomb Beneath the Sands or something. So because that's what you would want to do with him.
Exactly. Yeah, that would be the perfect reason for him.
I don't know if you'd have much success just like running this homeboy just like out in front of your army, like without just getting annihilated.
Well, he has scouts, so if your opponent doesn't deploy correctly, like you can easily deploy him on a flank or there's
some terrain that you can put behind or something.
Yeah, there's some stuff you could do with him.
Yeah. He seems like a solid little guy for 52 points.
And he's not undead. He just has unstable, so that means he can march.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So he's on. If you go first, you scout. You're 12 inches away. Cool. I march 14 inches up, and I'm like in a flank or whatever.
I just imagine an alligator marching. You know how alligators like run? They like fast as F, boy.
Fast as F, boy.
Yeah. Now we're on to carrions. Now these guys. War beast with fly, scouts, undead. I didn't realize they had scouts. That's pretty solid. 2 wounds apiece, strength and toughness 4.
I don't think they used to. Yeah, they did not. They did not.
Okay.
That. Right.
So that's better. Move. Yeah. Okay, so movement 2, but they have fly. So they'll have movement 10, or I don't know if it's going to be changed with the new changes.
They are actually, I think they are going to movement 9, so they're only
Okay.
losing 1 inch or 2 inches if you're marching. Well,
And
you
are
can't
these
march,
guys?
so 1.
Are these guys in a unit, correct?
Yeah, I believe it's 3+ because they're actually
Okay.
they're on like 40 mils.
Yeah. Yeah, their models are quite ugly if I remember correctly.
Yes, they are.
Like
Because
old
they got like
metal.
yeah, and yeah, I think I have like 5 or 6 of them, and it's like
You
they're
could definitely kill somebody with one of them. It's just
yes,
a hunk of metal.
20 points apiece. I think they went down. They
20
dropped.
points. That's not bad.
They dropped 4 points. They used to be 26. They lost Entombed Beneath the Sands because they shouldn't have had that. You know, it's like a.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah, it's weird. And they lost Poison. They used to have Poison too.
Okay.
Well,
but
they
for
gained
20
Scout.
points. Yeah, I was gonna say that's really where their use comes in. For 20 points, I'd be like, eh. But 20 points with scouts, so now you got a unit like a 60 points for
A War Machine Hunter.
That's exactly 3 of these guys with fly scouts. 2 wounds apiece, 2 attacks. They're not really going to kill anything, but a lot of getting back to the whole disrupting thing, hunting war machines, disrupting the back lines and stuff. Going after some archers.
You can't flee, obviously, if you get charged, but yeah, they are the War Machine Hunter. That's their job.
And then, well, we've already done
or like
those.
have, honestly.
Yeah. Then we're on to another beast mode unit, Necropolis Knights.
Oh, yeah, hold on. Let me go back up. Okay. Yeah, another
Knights.
Huge staple. Honestly, some of the most beautiful models. I think everyone, I don't know anyone that says they look poor. I think they look great. They definitely went from, I don't know if you remember what the 6th edition Tomb Kings or 7th edition Tomb Kings look like. They're all the metal and pewter, and then they just started going to like the new plastic Tomb Guard, and that's when they added these guys. And it kind of was going into the end times, like scales creep kind of thing. But these things
that was when they added these guys and like the war sphinxes and stuff. Yeah, all that stuff came out with the Tomb King re-release basically in 8th edition. The really Necropolis Knights are stupid hard to find for a reasonable price. It's very difficult to find these models anymore after being discontinued. And they're one of the coolest units, so they're very hard to find.
They're Tomb Guard riding freaking snakes.
Yeah.
Like what? It's awesome.
And now these are the ones that I said Ramatep can buff up pretty good because they'll have a 3-up armor. Right. So they have a 5-up natural armor in their special rules, and I believe they have light armor and shields. The riders do, so they get a 3-up armor. So with Ramatep, you can be re-rolling that 3-up. That's really solid. The Necro Serpents themselves have poisoned attacks. And they have 3 attacks. Each of the serpents has 3 poisoned attacks at strength 4 or strength 5. 5, so those are really good. The riders on top have Tomb Blades, so they have magical attacks with killing blow. They each have 2 attacks apiece at strength 4. Might even be 5 if they take halberds.
I think they can take halberds.
Okay.
They come with spears, but then you can give them. No, you can't give them halberds.
I was going to say I think they just have spears then. With spears, spears like +1 on the attack for a mounted spear.
Yeah, strength. So strength. So you're having a lot of
initiative.
Strength 5.
Yeah, so strength 5 coming from your Necro Serpent with poison, then strength 5 from your Knight riding on top. If he charges, strength 4 if he doesn't charge.
And the Knight will be initiative 5 on the charge.
Yeah, and these guys have their movement 7.
Yep.
And they have 3 wounds apiece. It's toughness 4. It's a unit that you can run 3, but I think 6 is a really good number, especially because this is one of those units like Tomb Guard that's like it's already good, but with some cohesion and some magic can really go like bonkers. Can really be like a nut slammer. So I don't know why that word came.
Nut slammer.
So yeah,
we all know why. It's fine.
Things like getting these guys to reroll their armor is good, and then if you can give them things like +1 attack from your magic, killing blow, or +1 to the knight's killing blow from magic.
So what's interesting is that
5-up ward.
In 8th edition, they did not come with. You couldn't give them shields, so you can give them shields now for 3 points a model, but if not including the shield, they actually went down 15 points a model.
Oh, yeah?
They were 65 apiece. Now they're only 50.
Well, I think all these points going down is solid because the Tomb Kings were one of the more underwhelming armies of 8th edition. It was like Tomb Kings, Beastmen, maybe some couple others. And they really didn't. That's what I like about WAP. They didn't like go ham and like just completely changing everything, like redoing the army books. They did a good job, I think, of keeping the core of all the units and armies and stuff, and then just kind of balancing them. If they needed help, they buff them, lower points and stuff. If they were too good, they do the opposite. So that's what you see with a lot of these Tomb King units. They're good. They've just dropped some points and done some things to just basically make them overall pretty good. So that's another unit. That's the Necropolis Knights are another unit. It's kind of a staple of Tomb Kings. I think a lot of people who have the models run them because they're pretty damn good.
And they're able to take a banner now too. They couldn't take a magic banner. Now it can take up to 50 points.
Yep. Ooh. And then on to Sepulchral Stalkers. I actually like this is the other version that you can make if you get the box set. It's Necropolis Knights or Sepulchral Stalkers. Personally, I actually like Sepulchral Stalkers the most. I think they're one of my favorite models of the Tomb Kings. It's these big ass like skeleton serpents wielding halberds. They just look awesome. Now these guys are very interesting. They have big thing for them is Entombed Beneath the Sands built in, so they can pop up from wherever. They're pretty good in combat. Strength 5 with their halberds. 3 attacks apiece. Weapon skill 3. Their toughness 4 with 3 wounds. They have movement 7, just like the Necropolis Knights. But their big special thing is Transmogrifying Gaze. It's a shooting attack with the following profile. It's a 12-inch range, strength 4. It ignores armor saves. It has killing blow, magical attacks, and multiple shots 3. When rolling to wound, substitute the target's toughness with its initiative value. This attack does not suffer any to hit penalties. Now, this was something that I know is different in 8th edition, but it was similar. I think it was an artillery dice back then, so it was more shots, or potentially more shots. But I think it may have not been as good as far as the rest of it goes.
Let me check that out. They did get an extra attack, which is cool. They used to only be 2 attacks.
Yeah, I really like this unit for going after. I mean, being able to pop up anywhere in the battlefield with Entombed Beneath the Sands is really awesome. But I think where they really shine is this Transmogrifying Gaze going after like big monsters with low initiative, or
great versus like ogres.
And I was going to say, and then like war machines, because substituting the toughness, which is the war machines against shooting, their big defense is their really high toughness. So you just use an initiative value with this instead and just target that.
So it used to be range 8, so that's actually now range 12. And like you said, and yes, correct, it is. You would roll an artillery die for each one, and it suffers just now. You used to have to roll to hit in this one.
Yeah.
In WAP, you have to roll to hit. Okay, so in 8th edition.
Yep.
Okay, in 8th edition, it was auto hits. That's crazy. You could get up to 30 hits with 3 of these. Holy cow!
But you could also hurt yourself with the
misfires.
Right. So this just gets rid of that. It's just 3 shots apiece, 4s to hit, no to hit penalties. So you're always hitting on 4s with 3 shots.
More reliable.
And then ignoring the armor saves, killing blow, magical attacks, using the initiative instead of the toughness. It's really good against like big monsters with low initiative and some other things out there. I think it's like they're 140 points or something. So they're a really good unit. I think Entombed Beneath the Sands is like an auto. You do that if you're taking this unit. I think you put them beneath the sands.
They were 55 points apiece. Now I believe they're 48. Yeah, they're 48. So they went down 7 points a model, which is pretty good. It went down 7 points. Their shot got more balanced, and they got an extra attack.
Yeah, I really like them. I have 3. I have 3 of them, and I just got them recently, and I'm probably going to include them in most of my games.
Cool.
And then we are on to Ushabti.
What a change they went through. Holy
Ushabti were actually one of my initially like favorite Tomb King models. Remember back in like 2012 or something.
Yep.
when I saw these models, looking at the Tomb Kings. They just have that really cool like Egyptian aesthetic with the different like animal heads and stuff on these big construct bodies.
They remind me of like in the Mummy. Do you remember in the Mummy?
They had the army in the Mummy, yeah, and those things were so badass looking. And then I see these and I'm like, oh, that's it. They're a really cool unit. I wish I could find some of the models that have bows. I basically feel like they don't exist. Like they're not. They don't even exist.
I think they only came out in Finecast, if I'm not mistaken. They may have come out, but they were. If they came out in Pewter, it would have just been like blisters, like a 1 per.
Right.
But I'm not positive. But they went through a huge change. So they went down 8 points per model, and they. Let me see. What do they come with? I think it's just a hand weapon at first.
It comes with hand weapons, but you can go dual weapon, great weapon, bow. And halberd?
Halberd,
maybe?
Yeah. So if you don't go bow, the halberd is the way to go. But a bow is just amazing because I believe the great bow is like a range 30, strength 5.
So it's a long bow, strength 5. Yep. So range 30, strength 5. Now,
always hitting on 5s.
You're hitting on 5s. I don't love it. What I do like, I think if you run a big unit with bows, I think you really need to try to get off the spell to give them the extra shot. Because then you go in like 3 of them would be 6 shots at strength 5. Then you're starting to, because you're hitting on 5s, so you really want to try to get a bunch of shots.
Do they have multiple shot? Like a standard bow?
They do if you get that spell to go off.
It says long bow. Shots from long great bows are resolved to strength 5. So if you look under long bow, you're already shooting 2 shots if you don't move.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You could shoot.
So giving that spell. So with that
3 shots
spell,
apiece.
you're shooting 3 shots apiece at strength 5. So I think that could be really solid, especially in like a unit of 6. Like that would be you're getting 18 shots at strength 5 going out.
I agree.
But I think the big thing with these guys, I think really helped them is the upgrades. The aspect upgrades. They never have that. They never had that, and now you have a choice. I think it's like 3 points a model to upgrade them with the aspects.
Yeah. And they're very strong. Very strong.
Yeah, so the first choice is God of Death. The unit gains the Killing Blow special rule. So that gives you that. Then you have the God of Earth and Giver of Strength. It gives you a Strength bonus 1 special rule. That's the one that I take the most.
Yeah.
You get that strength up there. It makes them really good. I think if you combo that with the dual weapons, then you get 4 attacks apiece at strength 5, and I think that's really good.
I still think 3 attacks at strength 6 are also good. Just depends.
3 attacks strength.
If you do a halberd.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You do a halberd. You just give them great weapons.
Yeah, but I don't like the -2 initiative. Now you're being striking an initiative 1.
Yeah.
So it's like now your ogres are going before you.
Right.
At initiative 3, you're striking before ogres already. So.
Yeah, but there's all combinations because it's nice that they got some because they have like 4 different weapon options and then all these options. There's a lot of room to like kind of customize them, and I love that. Next one, God of the Sky and Bringer of Justice. The unit gains +1 movement. That's always good.
I don't see people taking that one very much though.
No, they won't. Movement's always good, especially because you can't march. So it's any movement you can get is good, but it's not good compared to the others. God of Water and War. The unit may re-roll 2 hit rolls of 1 in close combat. That's solid, but you can give. I think there's other ways to make that happen.
There's better ones too.
And then the Goddess of Magic and Vengeance. For each successful wound inflicted upon the Ushabti unit in close combat, they get to make an additional attack back. I think that's good, but I don't want to rely on people hitting me to do more damage. I'd rather just get
+1 strength.
Just kill them first.
Excuse me.
So yeah, Ushabti I like how they're very customizable. Overall, they have 3 wounds apiece. They're toughness 5. I think that's an improvement. I think they used to be toughness 4.
They were just down to 4.
That's massive. Going from toughness 4 to 5 is like that's kind of like a threshold. That's really important. There's so much strength 4 stuff in the game. Movement 5, so that's decent as far as undead stuff goes. Weapon skill 4, so that's pretty good as far as undead stuff goes. So you need 3s to hit. So overall, a really good unit. I'm looking. I typically haven't run them a lot, but now that I just got some more, now that I have 6, I think I'm going to start running some more units because before I just had 3, and I don't really think you run them with just 3.
Yeah, in 8th edition, most people wouldn't run them unless you just thought the models were really cool because the knights were better and Tomb Guard Bunker was just better. 100%. What is after?
Tomb Scorpions!
I love the Scorpions. It's just like another iconic thing because it's just previous before they added the War Sphinx and all that other stuff. It's a monstrous beast. You can take them in units now. In older editions, you could only take it in like by itself. You can take multiple of these in a unit. They're strength 5, toughness 5, 4 wounds, 4 attacks at initiative 3, and they have Entomb Beneath the Sands. They have Killing Blow, Magic Resist 1, 5 up natural armor, poison attacks, and of course undead. So as we discussed earlier, one of the best things with them is Entomb Beneath the Sands to just come up and try and screw with someone's back lines, stuff like that. And I think are they still 85 points?
Myself.
Oh, you did? Nice.
80 or 85. Yeah, it sounds right. It's either 80 or 85. I just got 3 of them, and I'm looking forward to building them and getting them painted. I think a unit that's toughness 5 with 4 wounds, and then it also has 4 strength 5 poisoned attacks. I think this is kind of a perfect unit for Entomb Beneath the Sands. Just like pop up and either charge someone for the rear or just come up in combat, especially with a unit like archers, handgunners, just these little bullshit backline units. This guy, toughness 5 with 4 wounds, even if you can't like kill the whole unit in one go, he's likely just going to get stuck in and ignore and just prevent that unit from doing anything.
They gave him an extra wound. That's pretty big. He used to only have 3 wounds. Now he has 4.
Yeah, T5 4 wounds is pretty chunky.
Yeah, that's nothing to joke about. And like poison attacks, it means you're pretty much wounding everything that's infantry on a 2 up. Yeah, you're wounding everything on a 2.
Yeah, hitting on
even cast warriors. It's crazy.
Solid unit. I don't think I would. I think if you're taking Tomb Scorpions, you're putting them beneath the sands every time. I don't think you're ever would ever want to just have these dudes like running across the board.
Right.
I think they're the perfect Entomb Beneath the Sands unit. And then onto the big boys. Khemrian War Sphinx.
Big fella.
The big fella.
He did move to rare. Almost all the monsters that were special in 8th edition went to rare. So Matthias tried to make a lot of this stuff like less monster mash. So it was special in 8th edition. So you used to be able to take 2 of these or a couple War Sphinxes, all that good. Actually, I think a War Sphinx was rare. But yeah, no, War Sphinx was special in 8th. So a lot of things moved to rare just so you couldn't have like monster mash. It went more of like rank and file stuff.
Sadly, I think that's kind of probably the best way to run these guys. I've run a War Sphinx a lot. With mixed results, probably more negative results. I think it's a good model, but I think if it's kind of the only or one of only 2 like big monsters, they just always have a big target on their back for cannons and stuff, and they just always get taken out. So with these guys, their big defense is that their toughness 8. So it's really hard for a lot of smaller things to wound them. A lot of times, 75% of your opponent's list is going to need 6s to wound them, just with like regular hand weapons and bows and all that kind of stuff. So that's really where their defense comes in, because they have a 5-up armor. It doesn't say it here, but I'm pretty sure they have a 5-up armor.
No, they lost that.
Armor. Did they?
They have
the
medium.
Other one have it?
They have medium armor. So they lost the construct thing, but it's just a medium armor 5-up.
Okay, so they still have a 5-up. Right. So they only have a 5-up. They don't have any ward or anything, unless you put Necrotech Boy next to them.
Or Tomb Bard.
6-up. Yep. But their main defense is the fact that they're toughness 8. They have 5 wounds, which I hate. Why not 6? All the other monsters have 6.
That's getting changed.
What?
All the monsters, so the War Sphinx, the Necro Sphinx, the Colossus, the Hero Titan, they're all going up to 6 wounds. Just so you know.
Thank Jesus.
Now, it looks like the War Sphinx is going up 15 points to compensate for that wound. The Necros, I think they're all going up 15 points to compensate for that wound. But 15 points for an extra wound on a T8 thing, I'd pay that all day. So there's no reason not to do that. Yeah, for sure. I like it. 100%.
Now these guys have movement 6, weapon skill 4 for the War Sphinx itself, strength 5, 5 wounds as you mentioned, going up to 6 it looks like, 4 attacks, leadership 8. Now this homeboy can substitute its 4 attacks for a Thunder Crush attack.
Yeah, that's the bad. That's like the blast weapon, right?
Yep. It's a template. It's basically a template stomp. So after its crew have attacked, the Khemrian War Sphinx may exchange all of its 4 attacks to make a single Thunder Crush attack, though it can still stomp. So basically it gets 2 stomps. It's pretty cool. Yep. Roll to hit against the highest weapon skill amongst the enemy models in base contact. If this attack hits, place a small template anywhere so that it is touching the War Sphinx base. Any infantry, war beast, or swarm models that lie underneath the template, friend or foe, suffer a single strength 3 hit. The model under the template's central hole instead suffers a single strength 9 hit with the multiple wounds D3 special rule. Other troop types underneath the template are too big to be crushed and don't suffer any hits. So it's basically just a template stomp. So it's cool because you'll be able to do the template stomp and then a regular stomp. And that can get you like a lot of hits compared to its regular 4 attacks. Now you have to decide if sometimes the 4 strength 5 attacks might be more valuable than that. I mean, you can only do that against infantry swarms anyway. So you'll typically use the 4 strength 5 attacks against other things, cavalry and monstrous beasts and stuff like that. But you have the option. It's pretty cool. The regular Tomb Guard, you have 4 dudes riding this War Sphinx. They are basically they're Tomb Guard.
With Tomb Blades.
Yep. So they have weapon skill 3, strength 4, 1 attack apiece, initiative 3. They have the Tomb Blades, so they have killing blow. Yep.
I think they come
big
with spears. So strength 5 on the charge.
True. Yep.
Yeah.
With killing blow and magical attacks.
Yep.
They have upgrades. You can take the Envenom Sting, which makes its normal 4 attacks for the War Sphinx. It gives it poison.
I would pay that. Wound. I would most likely pay that. If you have the points, it is nice to be wounding even a big monster that's like toughness 6. Now you're wounding it on 4s. Obviously you would need 5s normally, but poison, and then you're wounding all T4 things on 2s instead of 3s. So even Warriors of Chaos, you're wounding on 2s now. So I'd say that's big strong. Big buff.
Is pretty good. Now, one of them, I can't remember which. One is 20 points and one is 10 points. The other upgrade, Fiery Roar, it gives him a strength 4 breath weapon with the flaming attack special. One's 20, one's 10.
Yeah, the breath weapon is 20.
So the breath weapon's 20 points.
Yep.
Okay, and then poison for its 4 attacks is 10 points. Both of them are probably worth it. 10 points for poison, 20 points for breath weapon. So overall, really good unit. Its brother in arms, the Necrosphinx, is what we have next.
Yep.
Necrosphinx is known to be a monster hunter. It does that all right. So its big shtick is that it has the decapitating strike. Just preface this. It's the same platform. It has fly. So it's strength 5, toughness 8, 5 wounds. It has 1 more attack. It has 5 attacks, and it has fly. But the big thing that it has going on is before rolling to hit, nominate one of the Necrosphinx's 5 attacks to be made with the decapitating strike ability and roll it separately. This special attack counts as strength 10 and has the heroic killing blow special rule. So there's a chance that you could one-shot something that has 10 wounds. So that's pretty cool.
Yep, and it got 1 extra. So it dropped 10 points. And then it got 1 extra attack. It used to only have 4 attacks, so now you have 5.
Okay.
Yeah, which is pretty good.
Okay. Was that rule always that way, the decapitating strike? I thought it always just had heroic killing blow. Am I mistaken?
No, it always had. It did just have killing blow. Yeah, but then I
heroic
think
it had, or regular?
Oh no, sorry. 1 second, it was wrong one. Necrosphinx. Yeah, it just had decapitating strike, but it also had killing blow.
This does have killing blow. So all of its attacks have killing blow. The decapitating strike, it's heroic killing blow.
Yep, and you could give it for 10 points. Give it poison attacks. So why not? Why would you not? I mean, because then if you don't get the killing blow, you're still strength 5, wounding on 2s pretty much versus everything. Oh, there he is. Put it in front of your face. There you go. That looks cool.
I'm doing a little conversion we got going on here.
You want it to like have it jumping, so it looks like it's flying.
Yeah, so he's using a body from this Sigmar model. It's got all these skulls in it. It like fits perfectly.
Okay.
So he's basically going to be flying, and I'm working on him. He's a work in progress.
He's looking good.
He's a cool model. He's a cool model. I love both him and the War Sphinx. I'd probably take the War Sphinx over him, but him having fly is really big. It sucks that they can't march, so you can't be moving like 20. But
his fly will be moved down to 7, just so you know. Sorry, I burst your bubble. All right, I'll go next. Next is the Necrolith Colossus.
Bone giant.
A bone giant. Yep, pretty much. The only thing that it changed, so I'll tell you, it's strength 6, toughness 7, 5 wounds, but it's going up to 6 wounds. Initiative 1 with 4 attacks, weapon skill 3. You can give it the bow, which if you give it this bow, this is not a long bow. This is a super long bow. It is range 48, strength 6, multiple wounds, D3. So it doesn't have. Yes, it is a bolt thrower. That doesn't ignore. It's not -1. It's not armor piercing like current bolt throwers are. But still, to have a giant that can march and shoot effectively a bolt thrower is just cool. It just looks really cool. There are plenty of third-party alternate miniatures. I think there's one specifically. Is it Lost Kingdom? I think it's Lost Kingdom that makes the.
Maybe it's on eBay. I've seen one that looks really dope that I've been thinking about getting. He's like,
and it has it's like a compound bow. I think it kind of looks like a compound bow, but it looks great. It has one very cool rule, which I think it had from 8th edition, called Unstoppable Assault. So when it charges, every unsaved wound it does, it gets to make an additional attack up to a maximum of 5. So if you charge, if you have 4 attack space, you give him 2 hand weapons, so he has 5 attacks. And if somehow you do all 5 wounds, you get to make 5 more attacks. And then you get stomp, of course. So he could easily. Yeah.
Would you take double hand weapons over the bow?
So
I would take the bow.
I think
even if you don't hit, I would take the bow.
I think the OP thing, the tournament player would definitely take like bows on the Ushabti, bows on your giants. You take that one special character giant who like makes all of your Ushabti and all those other cool new models as your core, and you just then you take all the rare monsters now and then make them special. I think that is what I would assume the tournament player would do. I like the 2-hand weapon, dude, because the art in the book, like in all the other art with it, that just looks.
Yeah,
that looks so frightening to have like if y'all look at the WAP book, you can see that he has just like brought down one of those like I don't know the name of those weapons. But he just brought down that weapon and he's just like screaming. Well, I guess he can't really scream, but his mouth is open and he is just about to like swipe through some empire. It just looks so cool. And but in Total War, in Warhammer Total War, they are amazing with the bow. They're so good because it hits and it like explodes. Yeah, it looks really cool. Yeah. So play them both.
I really like this guy.
Take
2. I don't have one. I really want to get one. That's one of my next to get for my Tomb King army. Yeah. Well, yeah, those third-party ones. I'm definitely going to end up getting one of those. Even the regular ones, the GW ones, aren't hard to find. Just haven't done it yet, but
go.
Yeah, I need a Hero Titan too.
I think one of the guys in the fantasy group, the group chat, I think he found one. That looked pretty good. Looked pretty good.
I've seen a couple of third-party models. He showed me that one, and there was another one that I'd seen before that was really good. So the Hero Titan, toughness 7, not 8 like the other boys, but it's movement 6, weapon skill 3, ballistic skill 2, strength 6, toughness 7, 5 wounds like everybody else, 3 attacks, 8 leadership. It's a big boy monster. It does some magic stuff. So a big part of it. Why I see a lot of people that run the Hero Titan really try to make use of the Spirit Conduit rule. While a friendly undead wizard is within 12 inches of one or more hero titans, they add D3 to the casting result of each spell he attempts to cast. Roll for the bonus each time.
It's pretty
so
good.
It's if he's within 12 inches, just an extra D3 to whatever you're casting roll. It's solid, really good. And then it has some bound spells. It has the Shem's Burning Gaze bound spell out of the Lore of Light.
Okay.
And then it also has the Spirit Leech bound spell out of the Lore of Death. So it's got a couple good spells there, and then that's really it. So it's kind of
one's a magic missile, and then one's it's like you roll against the leadership of your opponent, and then whoever rolls higher takes that many wounds with no armor.
Kind of like a character killing.
Yes. Or a monster
spell.
Good versus monsters.
Yeah, or a monster spell. Yeah. So it's kind of what this guy does. He amplifies your magic a bit, giving D3 the extra casting results. It's not great in combat. He's tough. I mean, strength 6, toughness 7, 5 wounds, but only 3 attacks. Weapon skill 6 3. Wounds. Yep, he will get 6 wounds.
In last edition, from last edition, he went up 15 points, but he gained a toughness, which is pretty good. I would pay that for, and he's going to go up
toughness,
to.
Toughness 7's big.
Yeah, and I think I don't know how much he is right now, but he's going up.
I think he's like 190.
Okay, so he's going up to 205, and that's what's going to get him 6 wounds. Okay. So from previous editions,
15 points, just like you said.
Yeah, so from previous editions, where's the Hero Titan? He was only 175 points, which is pretty cheap. So now he's going to be an extra 30 points more, but he gains a toughness and a wound. So 15 points apiece for toughness and a wound.
For me, he's good, but he doesn't really do a whole lot for me.
Bound spells are great,
Burning Gaze is a good spell. Yeah, like the spells are decent. I don't love Spirit Leech, but it's definitely handy. Like if I had it, I'd use it all the time.
Yeah.
Shem's Burning Gaze is a good generic magic missile spell.
I agree.
And then just getting D3 to your other casters, like I said, doesn't do much in combat. So
Shem's Burning
Gaze really there for
the
magic phase.
Is that the one that gives you so I know that's Lore of Light, so you get an extra D6 hits or something versus undead demons and
I think it's just
something.
I think it's just D6 strength 4 hits. D6 strength 4 hits on a unit within 24 or something.
So it would go up to 2d6 strength 4, which is I mean for it only cast on a 3. You throw 1 dice, you get a free 1, and you get 2d6 strength 4. That's not bad. It's not bad.
Yep. Like I say, this guy's really here for the magic phase. So you got the bound spells, and then you're giving the extra D3 to the casting results of wizards around him. That's really what he's for. So he's pretty good at that.
All right, I'll take the Titan. The Khemrian
I barely know anything about it.
This guy was from the Monsters Arcanium, and he was, I think he was Colossus. So in the Monsters Arcanium, there were different sizes. So even this guy, I think, could stomp monsters. So he could stomp a Hero Titan, because in 8th edition you can't monsters couldn't stomp other monsters, but he was so big, I think he could stomp other monsters, and he had all these extra bonus rules, but he was a lot more than I think 380, 325 points or whatever he is. But so he is strength 6, toughness 8 with 10 wounds. He's movement 8. He has fly. He has a 5-up natural armor. And he has a roll on a chart like a standard giant or a hell pit for his attacks. But he also comes with bound spells. So he's like an all-in-one monster. He has, and they're unique bound spells. The Gaze of Dust.
I see that he went up to 10 wounds now.
Yeah.
He wasn't always 10 wounds, right?
In Monsters Arcanium, he was 10 wounds. Yeah.
Oh.
So that is in one of the Forge World books. So he wasn't in here. He was in the Forge World. Hold on. Hold that thought.
Hi guys.
He was in this fella.
There it is.
So
there it is.
This thing, I love this book. It has this and the Tamarkon have some of the most beautiful artwork that has ever been released, in my opinion. Let me find this fella. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. Wait, is he not in here? Hold on. There he is. Page 62. Where you at? So it's the same artwork that that Matthias used in the WAP book is what is in here. And here he's actually strength 8. So he went down 2 strength. He lost 2 leadership, but he was 475 points instead of now I think 325. I think is what he is. He still had the Gaze of Dust. It was still a bound spell, level 5, magic missile. It causes D6 strength hits, which penetrates like a bolt thrower. Same thing. Wrath of the Sands, both level 3, both hexes. -2 to hit when shooting, and -1 to charge. Same thing. Reawakening of Ancient Might. Bound spell level 3. Can only cast on itself. It recovers 1 wound. The same thing. Yep, same thing. Curse of the Fallen. When it's slain by any means, all enemies within 6 inches suffer 2d6 strength 2. So it's like all the beetles effectively go out and attack it. I think it does something else. Let's see. So in the old rules is if it's slain by any means, you d6 nearby units are affected, and it's select from the closest. Roll a d6 for each unit affected. On the roll of a 6, that model is... Whoa. Okay, it was much better. Let me read this to you. So when it dies, in old edition, you roll d6, and those number of units, nearby units, not just enemy. And you select the closest first, and you go from there. Roll a d6 for each model in the effective unit. On the roll of a 6, that model is slain regardless of how many wounds it has, and you can only take wards against it. So if like 3 units of like 30 dudes of whatever were a monster, and on a roll of a 6, the model is just gone completely, but you get a ward save. And it has all sorts of cool special. Yeah, it was cool. It has some very cool special attacks. So you roll on if you roll a 1 or 2, it inflicts d6 strength 6 hits on the enemy unit. On a 3, it's 3d6 strength 2. So that's like the one you don't really want. Oh, a scarab. That's what they were. They were scarabs. Like that's what the were. Jeez. Thank you, Titan. Breath of Night. It does not attack, but it automatically wins combat by 2. It's kind of like the Yell and Brawl with the giant. Devouring Jaws. It inflicts a single strength 6 hit with heroic killing blow on all enemy models in base contact. So that's amazing versus like ogres and any multi-wound models in a unit is pretty good. Soul Slain Hunger. 2d6 hits on the enemy unit, and roll a d6 for each hit. On a 5 up, it inflicts a wound with no armor saves, and it does multiple wound special rules. Okay, that one is also good versus multiple wound like monstrous infantry, monstrous cav units. So if you can find a model for it, I think a lot of people would use the Age of Sigmar beetle, the big scarab beetle with
it's
Alariel.
Wood elf lady.
Yeah, Alariel, I think is what is riding it. That is a perfect representation for it. This thing should go on a 100 by 150 base, 100%. It should be that large. But yeah, that is the last of the units. But I know you wanted to talk about a very special character that it saw a lot of play in 8th edition.
Yeah, so my wife, her name is High Queen Khalida. So basically, she's really the only. I don't want to say the only. So there's a couple of special named characters that'll see play. We've already talked about Ramotep. Mm-hmm. And then he's probably the most common, but then right behind him would be Queen Khalida, and the big reason is because of what she does to buff archers. So she gives the blessing of a Saf. Any unit of skeleton archers joined by High Queen Khalida uses her unmodified ballistic skill in place of its own. So that means instead of hitting on 5s at all times without modifiers, they're now hitting on 4s at all times with no modifiers. And then in addition, all shooting attacks made by this unit have the poisoned attack special rule. So the Wombo combo is a big unit of archers. You put the spell on them that gives them an extra shot. So now you have each archer shooting 3 arrows, hitting on 4s, strength 3 with +1 to wound. So I think you end up getting.
Guess how many points she dropped?
60. I think you end up getting 60 shots. How many?
50.
None? Oh, really?
She dropped 50
I knew she was
points.
still 300 and something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really why you take her. She's still pretty good beyond that. Her Venom Staff is like a magic missile spell. It's a bound spell, power level 5, 24-inch magic missile. The target takes 2d6 strength 4 hits. So that's pretty good. Just 2d6 strength 4 hits in the magic phase.
Yeah.
She has initiative 10. Or no, it says 9 now. I thought it used to be 10.
No,
she
it was 9.
always strikes first. Was it?
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm thinking of 10. So she has initiative 9, and she always strikes first. So she's a quick lady. She has poison. She has regeneration 4 up.
Which I don't think she had.
She's really
I don't think
solid.
she had that.
Really? I thought she did.
Yeah, I don't think she had regen. Unless her... No, she didn't have regen. So she dropped 50 points and got regen. Holy cow.
Yeah, so
that's pretty good.
So she's pretty good. As far as the other guys, I know there was some lists built around Archon, the Black. He can store power dice not used in previous phases and add them to his next phase. He's a level 5 wizard, so there were some builds around him. He's pretty good. Some people like Cetra is really good, but he's like almost 600 points. I think he could be a fun guy to run in a list, like a fun list where you bring like 20 chariots and Cetra or something.
He's just cool.
That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I agree.
I was actually looking into Grand Hierophant Ketep recently. I think he's actually a pretty solid choice. Just because he ends up, he has to be your Hierophant, and how your Hierophant gives your unit a 6-up, whatever unit he's in, a 6-up regen. Well, if Ketep is your Hierophant, then he gives a 5-up regen to any unit that he's with. He also restores 2d6 wounds with the Restless Dead lore attribute. So every time you cast a spell, that unit on a undead unit, they get d6 guys back. With him, it's 2d6.
That's crazy. That's good.
He can also re-roll dice once per turn. He gets to re-roll casting dice.
All dice, or can he choose?
Ketep can declare that he's using the Lich Staff immediately after rolling the dice to cast a spell, even if the result indicates a miscast. If Ketep uses the Lich Staff, he re-rolls all the casting dice used in the attempt, and he can use it once per turn.
That's so good.
He also has a Dispel Scroll, and if the caster must immediately take a toughness test. If the test is passed, nothing happens. If the test is failed, the enemy wizard cannot cast any more spells that turn, as he spits out a mouthful of foul-tasting insects. If the test is failed on the roll of a 6, the caster immediately suffers D3 wounds as well, with no saves of any kind allowed. So
and he's Lore Master.
He's a Lore Master. He's really good. I think he's like 345 points or something. So he's a guy that I'm going to start considering. But yeah, that's all I really have for you as far as named characters.
Yeah, he's 340. 340.
I know one of our guys in our SquareHammer chat likes the Sahasamit guy.
If you want to run a monster army, that's what you do. You run him because he is a giant. Like, he is a bone giant with magical ability. Yeah, and he's level 2. He's going up to toughness 7 and 6 wounds. He's going only up 15 points. He has MR2. He makes all of your monstrous infantry become core. So everything that we talked about, Ushabti. Oh, let me get it up so I don't sound stupid.
War Sphinx, Necro Sphinx.
So your Stalkers, your your Knights, your Tomb Scorpions, your Ushabti, your best. Actually, I don't think they'll do the Amut. All that goes to core, and then all the War Sphinx, the Necro Sphinx, the Colossus, the Hero Titan, and the Chimeric Titan. All that goes to special. So you could easily just run a whole bunch of monsters and monstrous infantry, and then him as your Hierophant. But I don't know if he can be taken as your general. I don't know why not.
That would be a badass list.
It would be.
That seems like a lot of fun to run, and he's the key to opening that list. You have to take him in order to take all the big boys.
So it's very fun to run, but I would say it's probably not very fun to play against, just because it's bringing back Monster Mash, and most armies don't have that many answers to that many big T7.
Toughness 7.
Yeah, so they just can't handle it. So in a tournament, if it's a tournament, oh yeah, that's a very strong list to take. But in a friendly game, if you're going to run that, let your opponent know. I'm just going to preface this with let your opponent know you're like monster mash, a whole bunch of big undead skeletons, and I think that'd be very cool to see. I'd love to see an army feel someone do that. You want to go over the lore of Nehekara real quick, and then
yes, sir. I'm on the page. So the lore of Nehekara, I think this is a very underrated lore.
You do a spell, I'll do a spell. Flip back and forth.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to start off with the lore attribute.
Go for it.
So the lore attribute is the Restless Dead. Each time a wizard successfully casts an augment spell from the lore of Nehekara at a friendly undead unit, the targets of the spell immediately recovers d6 plus 1 wounds worth of models as described in Resurrecting Fallen Warriors. Monstrous infantry, monstrous cavalry, monstrous beasts, and monsters can only ever recover a single wound lost in this way per spell. That is a awesome lore attribute for the Tomb Kings because a lot of this stuff is buffing, and I think almost all of it is buffing. So you're constantly just resurrecting your guys. Every time you hit one of your friendly units with a spell, you're bringing guys back. Whether it's infantry, you're bringing d6 plus 1 back. If it's bigger, like monstrous infantry, monstrous beast, monsters, you're just recovering a spell. It's just an awesome lore attribute.
And it used to be d3 wounds. d3 plus 1. Now it's d6.
Oh, okay.
That's pretty big.
You want to do the signature spell?
Oh, no. It's all you. You can do the signature. I'll start it, I guess, number 1.
Okay. Kashar's Incantation of the Desert Wind, the signature spell. This is really good because of the Tomb King's inability to march. So the Incantation of the Desert Wind is an augment spell with a range of 24 inches that targets a friendly undead unit. If unengaged, the target can immediately make a normal move, but not march or reform, as if it were the remaining move's subphase. The wizard can choose to have the spell target all friendly undead units within 12 inches. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 10+. No unit can be moved by Kasar's Incantation of the Desert Wind more than once per turn, though they still benefit from the Restless Dead lore attribute. So this is a solid way to basically move your guys forward, whether you're picking a unit and getting them to move, or you're doing the bigger version to do everybody within a 12-inch bubble. You can basically have everybody move up the board, and every single unit that gets hit with this aura, so everyone within 12 inches, bringing back models. Moving, bringing back models. It's an awesome spell.
So it seems like I think it might. I can't tell if it got nerfed a lot or not. So right now, you said it's cast on a 5, and it can target 1 unit within 24 if it goes off on less than the boosted. Mm-hmm. So in the old edition, it was cast on an 8, and it targeted all friendly within 12.
Okay. So So what was the boosted version back in the day?
The boosted version was all units within 24.
Okay.
But it also cost a 16. So much harder to get that, but
yeah, I was gonna say I like a 5-up picking a unit within 24. Yeah. I think that's good.
That's so cheap because that's 2 dice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I'd say it's a little sidestep. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe not as powerful as being everything within 24. That would be amazing.
A horizontal move. Horizontal move.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Everything within 24 sounds great, but this is also a bit cheaper, so.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, so Dejav's Incantation of Cursed Blades. Cast on a 7 is the base. Augment range 12. The target gets Killing Blow.
24.
Oh, sorry, I'm reading the old one. Haha. Let me read the new one. Let me read the new one.
Well, there's a change.
Yes, there you go. Augment spell range 24. They get Killing Blow. If they already had Killing Blow, they now get Heroic Killing Blow. And they take effect on a 5 or a 6 while in play. So that just makes your Tomb Guard freaking amazing because now your Tomb Guard are Heroic Killing Blow on 5s and 6s. That's crazy.
No,
and then it can make it... Huh?
No. If the target attacks already have the Killing Blow or Heroic Killing Blow special rules, they will take... Yeah, so you're not getting Heroic.
My mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be kind of busted.
That'd be crazy.
Yes, so the wizard can instead choose to have the spell target all friendly units, undead units within 12, and then it goes up to 14 casting value. The old one was range of 12, and then they got the same ability where they get, if they have Killing Blow, Heroic Killing Blow, it's on a 5 or 6. Okay, so now it can do the bubble. So it didn't have the bubble at all in 8th edition. It either had a 12-inch range or a 24-inch range, and then the casting value obviously increased. But in this one, it's 24 or 12-inch bubble.
Yeah, you'll notice that's a common theme in this lore. Most of the boosted versions are just shorter range, but it's an aura, and that is so good because of the lore attribute. Because all these things you can just cast on a bunch of units and have them all heal them all get the buffs. Like, it's really good.
I think. Well, sorry to interrupt, but I think one of the biggest changes that spells underwent was a lot of lores lost that bubble. But I think Tomb Kings were one of the only ones that kept the bubble on the. I think most lost that. Like, if you're looking at Troll Guts for ogres, it used to be, a run within 12, and then the unit with like a one within bubble 12. But I think they changed almost all of them. I think Tomb Kings somehow missed that like nerf to all the auras. Don't know why. Just just what it was.
Yeah, it's super solid for the Tomb Kings. It's so
for
good.
Sure.
Second level, we have Neuro's Incantation of Protection, base level cast on a 9-up. It's an augment with a range of 24. The target unit gains a ward save 5+ until the start of the caster's next magic phase. The wizard can instead choose to have a spell target all friendly undead units within 12 inches. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 18. This one I take all the time. I have this on every single Nehekara Lich Priest. There's no reason not to. Ward save is 5-up. Ward save 5-up is so good. A bubble of a 5-up ward save is crazy good. So this is an auto take.
Yeah. Well, as long as your other wizards have taken all the other ones because you can't take. I don't think you can take the same one twice unless you've had the other ones. Right.
Yeah.
But so you combine that with the Tomb Bark, and then boom, you got a 4-up ward save.
Yeah. This one and the one you're about to read are my two favorites. 2 and 3.
Petra's Incantation of Righteous Smiting. It's an augment spell, range 24. All models gain +1 attack, including the mounts. That's interesting because most say excluding. And multiple shots to special rule, excluding war machines, until the caster's next phase. If they already have multiple shots, they may instead fire an additional shot. So skeletons can shoot 3 shots if they don't move, and Ushabti would shoot 3 shots, stuff like that. A wizard can instead choose to have the spell target all friendly undead units within 12. If they do, it's casting value of 18. So either a 9-inch and it's 1 unit within 24, or cast on an 18 and it's all units within 12.
So there's two, like I said, 2 and 3. So you get that 5-up ward, and then 3 is you get the extra attack or the extra shots. Those 2 spells are the ones that I will always take.
That's really good on knights, just to give the mount and the rider an extra attack.
Wow. Yep, that's 2 attacks for each model.
Interesting. A lot of Tomb King lore is pretty good. Magic lore is pretty good. It's like usually it says excluding mounts. Interesting. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, the lore of Nehekara. That's why I said it gets a lot of hate, but I think it's really damn good.
It seems really
Number
strong.
4, and some of these next ones are more debuffs, so that's really good. Number 4, Usurian's Incantation of Vengeance, base cast on a 10-up. It's a hex spell with a range of 18. The target suffers negative D3 to its movement to a minimum of 1 and treats all terrain, even open ground, as dangerous terrain, testing every time it moves, including when charging, fleeing, pursuing, moving, compulsory, etc., until the start of the caster's next magic phase. The wizard can instead choose to extend the range of the spell to 36 inches. If they do so, the casting is increased to 13+. So, yeah, I don't want that unit to come to me, so I'm just going to 36 inches away, tell him that he needs to roll for dangerous terrain every time he moves.
That's the old
and take away from your movement.
Lore of Beast. What was that spell? Oh, shoot. No, I forgot the name of it, but it's the Lore of Beast spell.
There's another one that's just like it. I don't know which one it is.
Well, it's been changed now because now this treats all terrain, even open ground, as dangerous. But the beast spell has been nerfed, so it doesn't say even open ground. So this spell is better.
I'm pretty sure
it's the
there's
same
another
cost
spell somewhere
that
says open ground.
Hold on. That's ridiculous. If Tomb Kings has that too, that's holy cow. You can do the next one. I'll look this up. I'm going to look this up.
All right. The next one is also a hex. It's also a really good one. The Incantation of Desiccation, cast on an 11+. It's a hex with a 24-inch range. The target unit has -1 strength and -1 toughness to a minimum of 1 until the start of the caster's next magic phase. The wizard can choose to reduce the target's strength and toughness by D3 to a minimum of 1 until the start of the caster's next magic phase. If they do so, the casting value is increased to 22. So, really good. You can get minus D3 strength and toughness. That's crazy good.
That's very strong. And it can be combined with like the chimeric titan things where it's like, I think stuff has to take toughness test, or I can't remember which one it was, but yeah, you can do some nice combos there. So it's
or
the curse of
death if you take that.
Also true. The curse of honor right here. I knew it was curse something. That one was range 24, boosted it's 48, but I think it used to be 30 or either way. Yeah, they got rid of it. So the enemy's at -1 penalty to its hit rolls, which is I think different from this one. So yours loses D3 movement and takes all terrain or just moving as dangerous. This one is -1 to hit for shooting in close combat, but then treats all terrain other than open ground and impassable as dangerous. And those dangerous also fail on a 1 or a 2. But I would rather have yours. Like the -1 to hit is really nice, but treating, if you're trying to use it to keep a unit from like moving at all, then yours is obviously just 10 times better because, well, for that specific purpose, because even open ground, it's like the old Curse of Honor right here spell. Whew.
Oh, the one I was thinking about is the Net of Vamatok, the Lure of Light spell. I think there's one in there that says you like treat open terrain or you can't move. Or
no, all you have to do is pass a strength test, and if you pass that test, then nothing happens. If you fail, you take like D6 strength 3 or D6 strength 4 or
and
something.
you can't do the thing that you were trying to do.
Correct.
So yeah, that's really good.
I love like movement hindering spells.
Yeah, it's crazy good. It's so powerful. The next one is the Skull Storm. I've never played it. It's a magical vortex. Everyone gets a vortex.
Yeah.
This one's man.
Is it any good?
You want to read it?
Sure. Cast on a 15. Small template. You nominate the direction. You roll an artillery die and multiply the wizard's level. Standard. If it's a misfire, center over the caster, and it moves a number of inches equal to the caster's level in a random direction. Blah, blah. If roll a hit, remains where it is. Any model under or passed over. So if it pops through stuff, that doesn't count. It's only if it actually moves over. Any model under or passed over the template suffers a single strength 5 hit. Strength 5 is not bad. Travels in a random direction, then dissipates and removed, blah, blah, blah. And you can make it the large blast for 25. So it's just a strength 5 hit. I mean, that's not amazing. Your other spells are so much better. As far as vortexes go? Yeah. Your other spells are just better. Hindering movement, giving your stuff like killing blow on 5s or 6s, or they gain killing blow. Ward saves.
It's all good.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of really vortexes good. Not. They nerfed vortexes because they were so good in 8th edition. So then they kind of just buffed all the other, like lowering the vortex makes all the other ones a little bit better. It just, instead of like this, it's pretty much what it is.
Yeah.
But honestly, I think that vortex is definitely your worst spell.
Yeah.
I would have to say it's your worst spell. Since it's only strength 5 and that's all it does. Doesn't hinder movement, doesn't make stuff take like. Now, I think it would be cool if the Skull Storm did the same thing as Skulls at the Foe. So if you take a wound from it, you take a leadership test, and then it would cause like a panic check. That would at least make it, you could argue that sometimes that might be better than taking some of the other ones to cause a panic check, even if one wound occurred. But as it stands right now, it just doesn't seem. It's meh. It's meh.
Yeah. Now, I was gonna mention going over a couple of like items, but apparently the codex that I just downloaded onto my computer doesn't even really have all the items. I don't know if they forgot to add it to the actual books or what.
So what
they added a bunch of items.
The items that you're thinking of are in the expansion, the magic item expansion on the WAP website. But
because this only has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has like 9 items here.
Yeah.
Overall, even magic banners.
what a lot of people have discussed is you should talk to your opponent before you take any of the items in the expansion, because those items are almost always better than the ones in the basic codex. Some of them, some people say, yeah. Some of them are obviously good in the army book, but the expansion ones are. Some say they're undercosted for what they do, and they're too powerful because. Some of them are very powerful and stuff. I'm of the mind where it's like, if everyone has access to the expansion ones, well then, it's no big deal to me as long as you're like.
If it's like broken, it shouldn't be used. Period.
Right. Exactly.
Regardless of what source it's from. I was curious because in this Tomb King download, I only have 2 magic standards. Neither of them are the real good ones. There's 7 magic items.
Yeah, the one that I actually like the standard of the Undying Legion. I think that's a good one.
Oh, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's just not. The other ones are so much better. So I'll just point out.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
You go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, fine. Lock it up. So this one, I like the standard of the Undying Legion. It's 30 points. It's bounce spell level 5. It seems like Tomb Kings have a ridiculous amount of bounce spells, but it's an augment and it targets the bearer's unit. If successfully cast, the bearer's unit immediately recovers D6 plus 2 wounds worth of models, as described in Resurrecting Fallen Warriors. And I think it's not bad if you want it in in Tomb Guard. It's not bad if you're not casting or getting too many spells off to like revamp and revitalize your units from like taking wounds from magic or shooting. But I think it could be really good on your knight unit, your knights. I think since it's D6 plus 2, all you need to roll is a 1, and you get a whole knight back if it's dead. It's pretty good if you ask me.
I think.
If that's how it works.
No, I think you would just get 1 back because under Resurrecting Fallen Warriors, 1 wound, not a whole model.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So under Resurrecting Fallen Warriors, we're opening a rabbit hole here, but I'm pretty sure for like monsters infantry and monsters beasts and those kind of things, it can only ever be a single wound.
Okay. Let's see.
But while you're reading that, I just want to touch on a couple of my favorite magic standards. One is the icon of Rakaf, a unit of Tomb Guard or Tomb Herald only. The unit carrying the icon of Rakaf may make a swift reform at the start of their movement phase. The unit may then move as normal, including declaring charges. So it's basically a unit of Tomb Guard.
Busted! Excuse me. Pardon me.
Can turn and still charge.
Yeah.
So that is really good. And then the other one, that's 50 points. And then for 40 points, the icon of the Sacred Eye. The unit carrying the icon of the Sacred Eye gains +1 to hit in the first round of close combat, including steeds. So I like putting this one onto my unit of Necropolis Knights. Everyone's get +1 to hit. That's really good. And then as far as magic items, Tomb Kings don't have a lot, but one is listed here that I really like. It's a Scorpion armor for 40 points. Light armor, the character can never suffer more than 1 wound due to combat resolution. If the wearer is with a unit, up to half the wounds suffered due to combat resolution can be allocated against the character, which are then ignored save for the first one. So oftentimes put this on a Tomb Prince or somebody, and then every time I lose a combat, and I would normally crumble if I get my butt kicked and lose like 10 dudes, the wearer is in a unit up to half the wounds, so then it would be 5 of those wounds would then go to the guy wearing the Scorpion armor, which are all ignored except for the first one. So he takes a wound and cuts down how many models your unit loses by half. I think that's 40 points. I think that's really good for crumbling Tomb Kings.
I agree. That's like you just said, the 2 banners you actually like are in the expansion book, which has the stronger magic items.
Yeah, dude. I guess I'm just a little confused though. Is it normal for an army to only have 2 magic standards in the codex?
Like
2.
Only a couple. Yeah, they won't have 4. That's for sure. They only have a couple.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Most army books are like that. I think people just wanted some more. Like magic items is what makes your characters and stuff stand out. Yeah, exactly. Right. But
I love that stuff.
I don't know if like there's customizing, but then if there's only certain banners that are obviously the strongest, then it's not really customizing in my opinion anymore. It's just the people will take the strongest ones. That's just what happens most of the time. And I'm reading the Resurrecting Fallen Warriors, and nowhere does it say that you only would come back with 1 wound. Doesn't say that anywhere. It's on page 69. Funny enough, 69. Funny enough. It says first the musicians resurrected, then the standard, displacing rank and file, then rank and file. Then it says then rank and file models with multiple wounds are healed to their starting value. So like, yeah, if you rolled a 6, or let's just say you rolled a 4, and that banner was D6 plus 2, so you heal 6 wounds, I think you get two full knights back if you've lost 2. That's how it reads to me. I don't like the only one that's the only is the lore attribute that says monster stuff only gets 1. So, but this doesn't specify. So, I don't know. Maybe it's in there somewhere and I don't see it, but
might be right.
I don't know.
That's pretty solid if you're getting full models back at full health.
I agree. That's pretty
That's a
huge.
banger.
Yeah, that's a banger. Well, I think that covers it.
Yeah.
Is that about it, Curt?
Yeah, man.
Awesome. Well, I had a great time covering Tomb Kings. It definitely gives me a better insight into how to defeat them. I hope everyone learned some new tactics for it and how to build an army list and how you can actually customize everything. Curt, you got a shout out?
Nope, not really, except for Tomb Kings are awesome. And I hope to get more involved with SquareHammer and all the exciting things that will be coming up in the coming years.
SquareHammer! Well, thanks, everybody. Thanks, YouTube. Like and subscribe if you liked it. Bye, guys. Take care.